Good evening, everyone. It is now 6 o'clock. This is the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education meeting. It is Monday, December 12th. Can we get a roll call, please?
Espino. Lang.
Present.
Mencia.
Present.
Pacioli present. Reed.
Present.
Sager.
Present.
And Schumacher. Present.
I want to remind everyone to make sure you turn your mics on when speaking. Let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, before we begin our presentation, I want to make one short, quick announcement. Before we begin our meeting tonight, we want to provide procedural updates for the evening. If you are here tonight to address the board, please use the sign-up sheet at the back of the room. Only those who have signed up will be called to address the board, and speakers will be called in the order listed on the sign-up sheet. We'll leave it out there for a few more minutes if people want to get up there and sign up for it. With that, I will turn it over to you, Mr. Gannon, and your team.
Yep, looks good. Well, I'm excited that we have all these people here to watch our bird presentation. Good evening, School District 59, Board of Education, and the Superintendency team. We are really excited to share this video with you this evening that highlights the work that Bird School has done over the past 2 years, creating an inclusive learning community for all. This year, members of the BLT and I decided that we would stick with a sports theme and we would carry this theme throughout all of our team days. Over the course of this year, we have focused on topics such as perseverance, determination, grit, and always working your hardest. We are very fortunate because we were able to reach out to a Bird alumni who happens to work for the University of Kentucky. And he was able to get one of his players, Oscar Shibwe, who is a nationally known basketball player, to give a little pep talk to our students about all the work that we have done. And he is a person that understands what it means to persevere through some difficult times to get to where he is today. So he shared a very strong message about perseverance and the importance of being a good teammate to succeed in life that we are then going to share with our students, but we thought it was a great way to cap all the work that we've done this year. So please take a few minutes, enjoy this video, and then myself and the BLT will be here to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
So when I was hired as the Bird principal, I met with individual staff members, and one of the things that came through during these meetings was the need to reunite our Bird community. Teachers had felt like it seemed like we were operating two schools within one with our dual language and our gen ed students. In order to bridge this divide, I met with the BLT and we decided to come up with a superhero theme the first year. And so the first year we focused our Penguin Power Days around what it means to be a superhero. Then for this school year, I met with the building leadership team once again, and we decided to focus on a team theme. We decided to talk to our students about what it means to be a team player so that we are all Penguins and we focus on reuniting our community.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the MVPs of the week in Bird School. For Mrs. Castle's class, Anthony Little for being a good citizen. In Mrs. DeLuca's class, Denise Madrid for being respectful.
I think one of my biggest celebrations in year two as a principal is that we have really come a long way in creating activities that includes all of our students and helps us reunite once again as a bird community.
What I like about the team birthday is that we have lots of fun and sometimes we get to meet up with different classes.
Pues me gusta ir en otras clases y ayudar y conocer a más personas y hacer cosas con otras personas.
So something that I like is that everybody does the same projects every time and like people do it at the same time and everybody wears a shirt in the school day. Me gusta que en el equipo Bird me gusta escuchar libros, hacer actividades y ver cuentos. Last year, what I liked about Penguin Power Days were that you got to experiment with people next to you and learn new things about them.
Me gustó la idea de parte de que vino porque aprendemos ustedes cuando digan a meter el brazo.
Okay, something that I liked with the Penguin Power Days is that we had like lots of fun and little activities, and they were really fun. And I really like the little shirts because they give it to us, and it would be so thoughtful. And it's like so nice because then after that we get to do so many fun stuff and we get to like celebrate a little bit of our school. Estábamos hablando de hacer más respetuoso a más personas. También me gustó porque nos unió algunos de nuestros niños a ser como más respetuosos como los compañeros, las maestras, también principio.
I like team birthdays. Nice to match my friends and teachers with our teachers.
Más me gusta de equipo Bird es que hacemos actividades con mis compañeros súper divertidas. Hi, my name is Zach, and I really like the team birthdays because I think it shows kindness to everyone, and some people don't like when you're matching with other people, but I think it helps with that. I also think it helps with carrying this because everyone just gets along on those days, and it's really nice. I like to be learning as a team. When we work as a team, we cooperate.
Teamwork means a lot. They say if you want to go far, you got to take your people with you. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. That's why when you're in a part of the team, everybody doing their own thing, it's so hard for things to go forward because everybody doing their own things. Teamwork means a lot for me. Teamwork and the people going to come together and achieve something great. It is without the failure, it is very hard to accomplish success. We need to persevere. We cannot just lay everything down because things is not going right. You just need to persevere and work harder all the time. We need those things: courage, perseverance. We need focus, those things, and it's gonna help us. I think we in a good, like you see me all the time. I always got a big smile on my face. It don't matter what I'm going through, but I know it's a new day, new chance to get better, new chance to create it, to do something great. My daddy always used to say, life is not fair. You just gotta get used to it. You wake up in the morning, whatever life brings you, that's what you gotta deal with. So I love that. Shout out to the student of the Bird School. I know you guys gonna get there. Keep working hard, believe in yourself, and everything is gonna be good. Keep persevering, and you're gonna get there. So it's good.
So can I ask a question? I'm wondering how often you do these bird like all school days, and I'm wondering too, like how you've seen it accomplish your goal of bringing this like sometimes split community together.
So we do them. So we do them once a month, and we have definitely seen that they have brought our community together. We also will match classrooms. So we'll have a dual language classroom match up with the Gen Ed classroom, and we'll do some activities together. And this has been a 2-year journey. So we started this last year. As you saw in the video, we had a superhero theme. And this year we carried it over to a sports theme, and everyone gets the same lesson every day. We do a slide presentation. Everyone reads the same book. Everyone does the same activity. Of course, we, differentiate it for the different grade levels. But yeah, I think we've definitely seen a difference. I don't know if anyone else wants to speak to that, but.
The kids love getting together as a classroom, for sure. They definitely look forward to seeing their buddy classes and enjoying the lesson.
Yeah, Martel.
Who has all the ability to get this professional sports team here?
We're very connected at Bird. I don't know if you knew this about us, but we have very powerful friends. It's actually a Bird alumni who is doing this.
Very good.
So yeah, it was really neat when he was able to come through. And Oscar Sheeper is a pretty big deal in college basketball right now. So yeah, National Player of the Year. So we were really excited. The kids are super excited. They're all big Oscar fans at Bird now. So they want to know how his stats are and how many double doubles he has every night. So.
Yeah, two comments. I love that announcement. The announcing the MVPs, using that starting lineup. Maybe we should use the starting lineup music for us here at the board. But just that little moment, that little spotlight on that kid is going to do wonders on those kids. And then 2, having these kids meet and interact and get to know other kids that they maybe would never speak to. They have far more in common than they do those differences. So it's just breaking down those little, barriers that don't, that keep them from interacting. That's just going to do wonders on them. So that's really great. So thank you so much.
It allows us to get to know all the kids at the whole building too, not just kids in front of us. They're all our kids. So.
I love the whole thing. I think it's a great, sorry. I always count on my teacher voice. I think this is awesome. I love it. I wish we could, I would like to see it spread because I think it's a really good way to connect. And maybe we can do 2 more years of something that we can spread throughout the district. That would be amazing. You guys are doing a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I love the secretaries doing the announcement. Bird School has the best secretaries, which I just earned a free T-shirt by saying.
Yeah, definitely.
You got that one in early, Dr. Serger, didn't you?
I was promised a T-shirt.
So I actually have a logistical question for those schools out there who are in admiration of your ability to make this work. Like with all of the demands on our schedule and how have you been able to do this once a month? How have you incorporated it in?
So that's an excellent question. And what we do is we do it during the Wednesday. We have the SEL block. Last year, everybody across the building had that same block free, so it was a little bit easier logistically. This year, we had to make some minor changes to make sure that we can have it because not everyone has SEL time at the exact same time with the addition of the PE, but we've made it work. And I think the thing that excites me the most is the excitement the students have. When they see their picture on that wall and they're the MVP, just seeing them in the hallway, seeing the smile on their face. Well, after we're done calling them down, they come down and get a certificate and that they get to hold on to. So with that excitement that we've created, and we base it off, we do a bird pledge every morning and we have characteristics that we look for, and those are what they get nominated for. So they get a certificate for being caring or for being trustworthy. And they really seem to enjoy them. They get really excited about that. So, yeah. So it kind of works twofold. Get to show the kids and honor them for, following our rules and expectations, as well as building that community. So it's been a really big success. We want to continue with it for sure.
Very impressive.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Anyone else have any questions or anything like that? Well, thank you, Larry.
Yep.
Thank you, staff. It was great. It was actually great to have a presentation from the district again in here. Would you like to introduce the auditors? Sure.
Our next guest here is Joe Lightcap. He's from Baker Tilly. He's our our auditors, and they're here to just discuss a real brief statement as to how well the audit went.
Yep. Thank you, Ron. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you for having me tonight. As Ron said, it'll be a brief presentation. If you've had the materials and you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Also, one of the documents I'll be going over, the audit results letter, has my contact information, both my email and phone number, should you have any questions, not only after tonight's presentation, but throughout the year. We're here for the board to help answer any questions or look into anything that you may have on your mind. As far as the financial statements goes, we once again issued a clean or unmodified opinion on the district's financial statements. It's the highest level of assurance you can get from your outside auditors, and states that the information is reasonable in all material respects and can be reasonably relied upon by an outside user, which is great to see. A clean opinion is definitely what you want to see. What you've been presented is what we call the skinny financial statements. The district will also issue an annual comprehensive report later on that has additional information, additional transparency, including tenure trend information and management's discussion and analysis, which is management's discussion on kind of how things went in comparison to the prior year. So it's a real good document when you receive it to kind of just get a good narrative understanding of how the finances went. The estimated score for the annual financial report. So ISB puts out a profile score on a 1 to 4 rating. And the district's profile is anticipated to be 4.0, which is the highest score in what you've received in the past. So once again, more great news. The financial statements have two separate basis of accounting. One, very long-term, full accrual, all the capital assets, all the long-term debt. And it ends in net position. Net position increased for the district by about $20 million this year. And that's because you've invested in capital improvements. So capital assets went up, you spent money on capital assets, and your long-term debt went down. You spent on your long-term debt, and the market did better, so your pension liabilities improved as well. So that's good to see on a long-term perspective. And we also do a short-term perspective on kind of the fund levels with ends in fund balance. This is very short-term receivables and payables. All the funds combined decreased slightly by about $200,000. The operating funds, so the educational fund, operations and maintenance, transportation, and IMRF have about 10 months in reserves, increased by about $4.4 million. And the capital projects funds and life safety funds, they decreased by about $6 million as you spent down some prior life safety funds. So all in all, the financial position as of June 30th, 2022 was presented fairly and presents a good financial picture. We also issue a reporting and insights letter from the 2022 audit. This is our non-financial highlights. This is the document that has my contact information. When you read through it, it's very much a boilerplate letter, which is great. If there were any disagreements, difficulties performing the audit, these would be in there. I'm happy to report that there's nothing of concern in this letter. Also, we look at internal controls. When we prepare the audit to determine the nature, timing, and extent of our procedures, if there were anything to report to the board in terms of concerns in internal controls, they would be in this letter. Again, it's a boilerplate. There's nothing to report in terms of internal controls as they relate to the financial audit. So once again, a good comments there. And the final 2-3 pages is the two-way communications regarding your audit. It just has some information for the board to kind of think about, and if anything piques your interest, just reach out and give us a call, and we can talk through anything that you may have concerns or questions about. With that, I guess I'll kind of open it up to the board if there's anything you'd like to discuss.
Sure. Let me ask a question. I think it's important for the folks in the room and the folks watching at home to understand what we mean by internal controls. So it's not just, hey, here's our documents, everything's in order, but that they're actually being audited and reviewed. Can you give us a little kind of high level overview of that process?
Sure. When we talk about internal controls, we talk about the segregation of duties, the reviews of invoices, kind of the main controls. For the audit perspective, it's over the main transaction cycles: accounts payable, payroll, and financial reporting. Those three main areas. And we look for review of invoices, signatures on journal entries, and things like that. And if something were to the point where we thought the board should should know about it, we would include it in the letter. As with any organization, you have limited resources to spend, but the business office does a good job of if there's not enough people in a department, there's other people looking at things and compensating controls. And of course, the board has a big part to play in that as well. Your review of financial information, you're asking questions of the business office is always well received from the auditors.
So you mentioned that long-term accrual for the $20 million. Can you kind of explain that in more detail what that is?
Sure. So there's two sets of financial statements, pages 5 and 6, the statement of net position and the statement of activities. This encompasses all of the funds, all of your assets, and all of your long-term liabilities. So your capital assets, your buildings at net book value, so they're depreciated, they're at historical cost, depreciated, how long you think they'll last, equipment, everything like that, long-term debt, any bonds outstanding, net pension liabilities, so your future amount due to TRS or IMRF, those things are all considered in this one page, one column, full long-term perspective of the district's finances. And net position in total is about $140 million for the district, and it did increase by $20 million because in part of your just normal spending, you spent on capital improvements to improve the buildings and equipment, but you also spent on your long-term debt. You made your regular bond payments and your net pension liability. The markets were better, especially at 12/31/21, which a lot of things are measured. So the markets were better, those liabilities were decreased. When we look at all of that together, along with just the operations of the district, so the normal budgeting, that's where that perspective went up $20 million because you spent on good things. You didn't take on additional debt and those kinds of things that would decrease your net position.
Let me ask, I don't know if maybe it's a question for Ron. The opinion letter itself, what do we use it for? Is it if we're taking on new debt and then here's a copy kind of like in securing that debt, or is it just the annual process that we go through with the audit?
It's an annual process.
No more questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Item 5.0, comments and suggestions for the public. This is the point of the meeting where we welcome public comments. That is a regularly scheduled Board of Education business meeting. The purpose of this meeting is for the board to just properly address the items on the agenda publicly as required by the Open Meetings Act. To allow the board time needed to address all agenda items, we ask that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes. A board member will serve as timekeeper and will give the speaker notice when there are 30 seconds remaining to allow the speaker time to complete or summarize their thoughts. Public comment during a business meeting is a time for the board to listen to comments from the public, but this is not a time for two-way discussion between the board and the public. Please understand the board will not ask nor answer questions. If you have questions or wish to have a response to any item, please submit your comments in writing and the superintendent will follow up with a response. We also want to remind those in attendance that this meeting is being live streamed. Video of this meeting will be archived and available for viewing after the meeting has adjourned. For those who are sharing public comment, please be mindful that you are being broadcast live and your comment will also be included in the video archive. First person will be Debbie Diatti.
I come tonight to ask you to vote no for the school pairings implementation tonight because the fact that Dr. B, her staff, Randy, the press, and everyone else says that no is deep-rooted in racism and that I do not want equity for all District 59 students is a slap in my face as an educator where my classroom is the international airport and my entire backyard over the summer is an international airport as well. So it's not about equity in service and inclusion for all. That's what it needs to be about. I've been concerned about this plan and its transparency from the very beginning. I don't think it's right or just for all of these changes for the staff, students, and families after suffering through the pandemic for 2 years. And we're over our heads with inflation. That's only going to get worse. And our families are already suffering enough. It's also unprofessional that the head of our schools, as well as principals in our schools, are making threats and having a hostile work environment for the staff where they feel that they can't even speak to parents anymore. It's not right for the community. It's not right for the staff. All District 59 students, families, and staff have suffered not only academically, but socially and emotionally, mentally and physically the past few years. It actually is coming out in the violence in the middle school with the brutal beatings that are happening on a weekly basis. And we don't have a K through 8 SEL curriculum that's going to stop that and educate them, or like Bird has done, and bring the community together. This is what we're lacking. This is what we need to focus on a little bit before we start going in these. There's so much that needs to be done. We need curriculum first and foremost. I can tell you that from my experience of my own children. They came from District 62. They were in the 60th and above percentile in reading. And in math, they were over the 75th percentile. They came to District 59 with no curriculum. This is before I am. And they dropped to the 25th percentile. Dropped to the 25th percentile. 1 year later, they're below the 10th percentile. And do not tell me that has anything to do with that pandemic when their mother's a teacher and working with them. The standards were not taught to them. And if that happened to my children, and I'm apparently the loud and obnoxious one that will fight tooth and nail, and yes, I am a mama bear, but not just for my students and my children. It's for all of them. It's happening to the other students in the district. My kids weren't even low enough to get tier 2 support until I had to open my mouth and be the crazy parent.
30 seconds.
So we just need to make sure that, because the Frost and Jay community is very high needs and we put them together, they're going to have that same issue, except they're not going to have a mama bear that's going to fight tooth and nail to a point where the principal doesn't even look at her in the face or say hello anymore for them. I feel for them. They have no one to fight. They don't know the law to use it against it. The system is broken. We need to fix the system before we start changing. I agree there needs to be change, but the transportation, everything else is laughable. It's not going to happen that way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa Kubla.
Board members, I am begging you to all listen to the parents who have come here today, and I'm begging you to vote no to this pairing. We all know that this plan is rushed and we all see the flaws. Dr. Bresnahan, almost every parent here does not believe that you have our children's best interest in mind. We see the flaws in your plan and know that this pairing will not improve our district. I have a feeling that much like our former superintendent, we will be cleaning up this mess long after you have left. Since the start of this equity journey, it has felt deceitful, and you have also been condescending to parents, staff, and teachers, not to mention how you have talked to members of your own board. Every board member here should be able to ask questions about your plan without you raising your voice or talking down to them. You have set an awful example of how we should treat others. Our teachers and staff should not be in fear of repercussions for asking questions and having a voice. Shame on you for putting our teachers in this position. You claim that parents do not want the pairings because of race. That is a lie, and we all know it. I know that you have been inside of Brentwood, but have you ever been in one of our classrooms? I love the diversity of our school, and I love that my child has no concept of racism because he has friends of every ethnicity. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole Kissinger, sorry.
Okay, I am reading on behalf of Sarah Zach. She couldn't be here today. Members of the board, I am here to ask you to vote no on the school pairing plan later tonight. Although there are inequities in the district that we must address, this particular plan will not create authentic long-term equity and will derail the progress that we are making in student outcomes. I will admit that one good point that has been made in favor of the pairings is the potential to help more students qualify for Tier 2 and Tier 3 services, which would get them additional academic supports. However, this will not be the case in many instances, such as the J. Frost pairing, where the number of students requiring these services will grow. We can't know for sure because we haven't seen this data, but regardless, this is an indirect and indeterminate way to intervene. MTSS rules are a minimum standard, and our kids, especially our students who are in dire need of academic and emotional remedies, are worth so much more than the minimum. We have the resources, so let's help them now. The admin should use the data collected throughout this equity journey along with the teacher recommendations and flood the schools with tutors and interventionists, especially in the schools where the highest percentages of students are several grade levels behind. 1 year of tutoring, when done in small groups of 3 or 4 multiple times a week during the school day, can yield approximately 19 weeks of academic gains. That is more than half of a school year. Think of how many tutors we could have hired with $13.4 million in federal grant money. I hope that since some of these ESSER funds were used for already budgeted items like HVAC, that we can use those additional funds to hire staff. It is December, and we still have time to make personnel changes to support our teachers and struggling students. We cannot continue acting like this is business as usual. Our kids are still recovering from the pandemic's learning loss and are in desperate need of our help. Implementing such a dense infrastructural change like the school pairings during a period of academic and social emotional recovery will only distract from getting kids back on track. Another reminder to the board. In order to close a school, or 4 schools for that matter, you must have board approval. So the only people that can close the school are the 7 of you. When the district is working at a financial surplus, it would be difficult to justify a choice like this. Yes, enrollment is currently down, but when you have fidelity to an evidence-based curriculum and scores improve, so will the enrollment. And we will need all of the district schools to house these students. To close, I want to truly thank you for all of your service and volunteering your time to help our district. I know that your job can be a thankless one and it can be difficult, but you do have something that most of us don't, and that is a vote. So please use it well this evening. Do not approve this plan that will displace many of our students who depend on the stability and care that they receive at a school every day. Please vote no. Thank you. That was from Sarah. Now I have to say, hold on, I'm not done. I'm sorry, I only have a little bit of time. I and many other parents in this district believe that 3 new candidates who have children in District 59 or will come next fall would be the best option for the future of our board. Remember that we get to vote in April 2023. Please check out their bios. I'm going to give a shameless plug of sos59.org. Check out their bios and read about them and get to know about them. And remember which board member is running for re-election and has made a lot of promises during their last election that many have yet to come to fruition. Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you. Deb Venke, please.
Early on in this process, this journey, it was repeatedly stated our district is lucky to have an excess in funds and schools do not need to be closed. Once there was apparent pushback against the pairings, the alternative has been a plan to close 3 schools, with Ridge closing no matter what, regardless of tonight's outcome. Why? Why close 3 schools when it's not needed? Ridge has been repeatedly spoken of in a derogatory manner. It's been called, quote, morally reprehensible, full of rich white kids, and that it doesn't align with the district's equity journey. And my favorite, it's been called by an entirely different name. Ridge is currently what an administration has made it, to no fault of its staff, students, or families. Once again, I will remind everyone what Ridge used to have before the previous superintendent took them away. It was an 8 to 4 school day, which was great for families with both working parents. As a bonus, many didn't need to pay for before and after school programming. There was full day kindergarten, dual language, and intercession. All of that made Ridge a school of choice, especially for low income families and families of certain demographics. Again, I say make Ridge what it once was. Expand our reach so we can lighten the overcrowding at other schools. We will welcome them with open arms. This equity journey isn't about race and demographics. Its focus should be on academics and programming. Yes, curriculum is an ongoing collaboration outside the equity journey. Well, you've taken too long to address the lack of curriculum the district has had. We have students that are 2 to 3 grade levels behind, which is not a result of the COVID closures. These pairings and the mindset of the district's leadership isn't addressing that, though they say that's the goal. They are willing to sacrifice 6,000 plus students currently enrolled for a future generation that hasn't even started preschool. Whatever happened to preparing students to be successful in life? Inclusion Week just ended. There are many forms of inclusion, but I want to specifically address this. Why is Ridge willfully disregarded and underrepresented on the district's social media? Any mention of Ridge is an afterthought. Share. Last I checked, Ridge was still open and part of District 59. Ridge students deserve to be recognized for their accomplishments like the rest of the students in the district. In closing, I would like to address the district leadership.
30 seconds.
A person in a position of power that reprimands staff and peers for voicing a differing view, one that intimidates and condescends, but that one that no longer has the trust and faith in its community and staff, is no leader and has no interest in what is right for our district. I move to initiate a vote of no confidence to suspend the superintendent.
Thank you. Melissa Redmond?
Hello, I want to thank everyone who read my email I sent to you the other week. As I stated in the email, please seriously think about what you're being told and what is being shared with you. There are other ways to fix a district's problem. This plan does not address the major issues that are concerning parents the most. Lack of curriculum, the problems with the dual language program that came up during the audit, having half of our student population 2 to 3 grade levels behind, addressing the special education students, and getting reading materials that will help them bridge the gap, getting appropriate resources for struggling learners, and the overcrowding at the middle schools. Yours and the district's first priority should be getting curriculum in the teachers' and students' hands as soon as possible. I feel the district is not making this a priority because if they were, they would not be spending countless hours, weeks, and months preparing these slides, gathering the data, and presenting data that is being manipulated, I feel, to say what you want it to say. Instead, the district should have hired a curriculum expert or analyst to determine what curriculum would best fit our students and their needs. Instead, the district is spending taxpayer dollars for the study that will not benefit the entire district or solve our major issues, which is curriculum and resources. I find it concerning that the district thinks it's a good idea to have gym, music, and art teachers teach intervention groups. These teachers are great at what they do, but they have not been trained in reading and math. They did not go to school for that. And how do you think the parents are going to feel when they know this? Have you investigated this? One of the reasons to push the plan is for common plan time. I love my plan time and I need my plan time, as do all teachers. But they do not need 5 hours a week to plan with their team. I plan 40 minutes every 2 weeks. And most of the planning is done through texting and emailing. Also, the district wants to take another 30 minutes of instructional time away from the students by adding another special so this fits their common plan time. If teachers need more plan time, let's get it for them. But you don't need to shake up the whole district to do that. I know from experience what it takes when kids move from one building to another. It takes a good 2 to 3 weeks to get them acclimated to that school and feel comfortable with that staff. Our students don't have 2 to 3 weeks every time they move schools. Our students are already behind. They need to get caught up. My cousin was a car salesman for 20 years. He gave me tips on how not to be taken advantage of or tricked. Board members, I feel you are being taken advantage of. They're telling you what they
30
want you to
seconds.
hear and not sharing all the data. It is if the district wants to be the first in the area to make dual language for all kids, like mandatory, and have this pairing issue or whatever they're doing, when in reality, the district's main goal should be the first district to get their kids in the green at grade level. And this plan will not do that. As we get more and more data, we are noticing that this ship is going to sink. Instead of making this plan work naturally, I feel the district is trying everything in their power to force it to work. Please listen to us and vote no.
Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Redmond?
Good evening, board and superintendent. My question for you guys is, why isn't Naperville Schools doing this? It's one of the best performing schools in the nation, and their districts aren't doing it. Joliet school districts aren't doing this, and they're low performing and just versus we are. They're not doing this, not even thinking about it. Why? I haven't had no one answers that question. You guys are stuck between a rock and a rock, with a rock on top of you. Hardest decision you got to make. My kids have been at school in the district for a very long time. I've seen no spelling come through the district or any guidance on spelling from the kids bring home to do. How is this curriculum helping the kids? And then if you close Ridge, what about those staff? Are they losing jobs? Are we losing principals and secretaries and nurses and janitors and all that? No one thought about that yet either. How is people going to keep their jobs if we close schools? Classroom sizes aren't changing according to what some FOIA requests we saw out. Classroom sizes are going to stay the same. How's that helping kids out? These answer questions haven't been answered. Please take the time and look at these numbers. Are they accurate? Or are they made up by some group that's been paid to look at one example? No other opinion has been brought up besides, oh, let's close the school. Let's pair these up. Nothing else has been brought up yet. It seems like you guys are visioned into one thing only. Why is that? And why isn't any teacher union staff, why isn't teachers up here talking about this, for or against it? The union is not up here for or against it. They're scared of the superintendent. Rumors had she's been bullying staff and stuff. Hear rumors, don't know if they're true or not. Why isn't the teacher union representative up here talking about it? They're not, because they're scared of you guys and her. How is that good for our kids? We're scared to come into work every day. That's all I have.
Thank you, Paul. Tim Burns.
As the administration knows, interest-based bargaining is a process that enables traditional negotiators to become joint problem solvers. It assumes that mutual gain is possible, that solutions which satisfy mutual interests are more durable, that the parties should help each other achieve a positive result. Using the framework of interest-based bargaining, it is safe to say that the community is aware of the issues impacting the district and the interest that the district has in resolving these issues. What is not clear is whether the district is fully aware of the public's concern with the district's proposed solution to these issues and the interest that the public has in ensuring that a solution to these issues does not in turn create additional problems. To this end, I again address those board members elected in 2021 and ask, what is the outcome that you want? Do you want the election of 2023 to be a referendum on tonight's decision, to which case a large swath of the public, including myself, will be solely focused on reversing the district's proposed solution for addressing these issues? Or do you want the next 5 months to be a time of greater public collaboration to find a solution to these problems that is not as heavy-handed and to which the large swath of the public opposed to pairing may indeed be working with you to help find a solution and to ensure that the election of 2023 is only about who is the most collaborative and visionary individual that is best equipped to lead the district? In closing, do you want the next 5 months to be a textbook, case-by-case example of what a district at war with itself looks like, or a shining example of what collaborative problem solving looks like? Thank you.
Thank you. Lucas Snesny. I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce that wrong every time. Not a problem.
Hello. First, let me just stress that I support all of the comments that were just heard here with all my heart. I am 100% not for the pairings of the schools, and I'm against how this project was handled, how it was structured, and communicated. I have over 15 years of experience in project management, and I have never seen a project with so many issues with both transparency, communication, collaboration, transformation management, stakeholder suppression, and more. This is not a way to manage a project that will change the future of our schools and our children. If it was my project, I would have been fired by now.
Yeah, we stopped the timer.
I am a very strong believer that all kids are born with a tremendous potential and that it is up to us to help the kids. I am 100% for equity. And I do believe that our teachers, our schools and administrations are there to help the kids. But that is also the reason why I cannot be silenced and I cannot support this plan. I'm going to generalize a little bit here because I know not everybody is supporting this plan. So forgive me if you're against it, and this is a generalization. But this governing body as a whole, at least from what public sees on the outside, keeps saying that this is all about equity journey. And frankly, after reviewing the issues and seeing what is being done, listening to a number of pitches as directed by the superintendent, I concluded that this is the furthest thing from equity. This pairing project does not address the core equity issues that we currently have in our district. Just to make it clear, it does not help. It does nothing to fix the curriculum, increasing the access to programming, addressing the enrollment issues, helping with the behavior issues that we're having in the district. It does not create a systematic fix to the class sizes.
30 seconds.
Has nothing regarding student-centric fix to faculty and capacity issues or student outcomes and more. Really, it seems like this is just trying to blur the numbers, muddy the water, and just make it look better for a very short period of time for whatever the purpose. I mean, when I started coming to those meetings, I've seen a lot of very beautiful pictures about how kids are grabbing apples from the trees and how that is equity. But how can you tell me that a system that is being torn down is creating equity? Really, what it looks like more, it's like we're bulldozing the system.
Time is up.
And a couple of folks might have a couple of apples for a second, and then it's going to be worse. Please vote no for this. It doesn't make sense.
Thank you. Robert Nauman.
Some of our discussions these past few months have been quite candid and pretty passionate. We're hitting some solid nerves, I think, as we discuss these topics. In spite of that, we appreciate you. I appreciate you, that you're volunteering, that you're here, you're trying to make the best decision possible. I think it's admirable at some times as an elected official to say, I have to do what my conscience tells me to do, even if it seems to be going against the grain. But in the end, you are representatives. And when your constituency repeatedly and consistently, again and again and again, after hearing the same information that you've heard again and again and again, says no, to vote in the face against that is a mistake. You are representatives after all. To that end, I've done this before, and the crowd isn't as thick tonight, but I wonder how many people here are against the pairing process, if you'd raise your hand. And just out of curiosity, how many people here would say that they are in favor of it? Okay. That's exactly the same results I got last time. One vote in favor and the entire room against. And it's not just this room, right? I mean, this is the middle of December. We have tons of people who are too busy to be here tonight. Numerous people signing online petitions and making their voice heard in other ways. And this isn't the same group of 10 or 14 people or whatever. We are getting a cycle of different people showing up at these meetings. But it's difficult. It's difficult because we are busy, and unlike you, we haven't made the commitment to be here, every time. Secondly, I'd like to point out that moving everything towards a mean, as you've been told again and again, there's disparity in the grades, if you will, and the performance of one school versus another. But shifting everybody will make the performance appear uniform. But that doesn't mean that you're going to improve the performance of any school. Merely moving everything towards a mean does not improve the outcome. Okay, what we need to do is take a school like Ridge or a high-performing school and analyze what's going well there and apply that to other schools so those other schools perform. Also, it's been said again and again that some of these issues are demographic, that there are certain demographic pockets, and the implication is that those pockets are bringing down the performance of those schools. And that's a nature versus nurture issue is really what it comes down to, right? I mean, if we don't believe that nurture can change the performance of our students, then why are we here? Why are the educators here? Obviously, we believe
30
nurture can
seconds.
change the performance, right? It's not about the demographic. It's about the systems and the curriculum and how we're applying those. And we need to do a better job of that across the schools, no question, rather than trying to move everything towards a mean and have a pretty picture of uniform performance across the district. Thank you. Please vote no.
Thank you. Tony Mato, please.
Hello. I was not going to speak tonight, but after watching that wonderful presentation from Bird School, I couldn't just sit there and be quiet. I am a Bird parent. I have a son in the district, and we have been Bird parents now for 2 years. And I will say that my son's experience at Bird has been amazing. I've said it before the past couple times that I have spoken that he does have some anxiety, and every single teacher, every single staff member, including the secretaries, they take such good care of him. Hearing his name over the intercom, because he was an MVP student 1 year, the joy that he comes home with and the stories that he comes home and shares about the inclusion, not only in his classroom, but within all the classes at Bird. They are able to team up with the dual language programs, and he has friends in many of the other classes, not just his classroom. I know Bird and many of our other schools, I can only speak on behalf of Bird, they're doing amazing things. I know that they are piloting new curriculum. My son now has a spelling test every single week. He has spelling words to study. I know curriculum is being piloted. Let's give teachers a chance. Let's give teachers a chance to try out that new curriculum, to find what is working for them. Let's not throw a major change in their system. As a teacher myself, we need some consistency. Our students need consistency. Our teachers need consistency. Our admin, our custodians, everyone needs some consistency in their life right now. So please vote no on these pairings. We see what wonderful things Bird is doing within their school. Other schools can make changes on their own as well. Changes can be made within the individual schools. We do not have to shake up this entire system with these pairings for positive changes to be made. Thank you. Please vote no.
Thank you. That will end our public comments section. We'll be moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion. Be it resolved that on the 12th day of December 2022, CCSD59 Board of Education approves the consent agenda as presented and amended, including 6.01 approval of minutes prior meeting, 6.02 disbursements resolution, 6.03 financial reports. Apologies. Including 6.01 through 6.10 as indicated on the agenda.
I'll second.
Questions, comments? I do want to ask 6.10, the submission of the school improvement plans. That was for 4 schools, and that dates back to the 28 or 18 and 19 school year.
That's correct. Summative designations created back in 2018.
So before COVID timeframe, right?
Correct.
And based on our latest test results, those schools are no longer would require to complete that.
So the plan, the original designations, actually one school, Homes, was officially designated. The other 3 were part of the original, but in the end were not officially designated, but the state moved that process forward. They were required to be in for 4 years, but with COVID, it extended a year. So we're in the last year for all 4 of those schools. If they stay as they have been performing, we expect them to be out of the system next year.
Okay, and then we have Rupes this year that was, and that would, they would have a plan then? They would have to be.
So
completing the plan?
Rupley's in a planning year. So yes, they'll work on their plan for this year. A unique piece to this year with the summative designation process, that based on the data, the state has put together a option schools potentially can get out of the designation process after 1 year. Rupley is eligible for that process, and we're working with the school on the planning components for this. But yes, they were targeted for the children with disabilities category. Any category with 20 or more kids, I think for Rupley it was 36 students. There's a formula to that process that ultimately led them to be targeted, designated.
And we have approximately what, 50 kids in that program?
And it's actually for any student with an IEP or a 504 that
Okay.
attend the school.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Espino,
Aye.
Lang,
Aye.
Mancia,
Aye.
Petrielli, aye. Reed,
Aye.
Sager,
Aye.
and Schumacher.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
Okay, item 7.0, I'm going to quickly read a brief statement about discussion items. This will probably continue on to agenda or action items later on. But as we move into the discussion portion of our agenda, we want to remind those in the audience that the only time we can hear presentations and hold discussions as a board in an open public meeting like this evening. We truly appreciate those who take the time to attend our meetings in person to listen to these conversations. And we ask everyone to please allow the board the time we need to hold our discussion without interruptions or distractions. While the board is always interested in receiving input and feedback from our entire community, this time of board discussion is not meant for a dialogue between the board and the audience. If you would like to share your thoughts or your impact with the board, we would invite you to either submit a response to the form linked in the district equity page or email the board and Dr. Bresnahan. Our email addresses can be found on our district's website. Thank you for allowing us the time needed tonight to publicly discuss our district's falls benchmark. Oh, never mind. We'll pass on that part of it. Yeah. Okay. Crisis Go. I believe that's Ron and Albert.
That is correct. So, yeah, let's go up there. So the first discussion item, 7.01, we're very pleased that we have flushed out several different applications to see what would be best for the district. Crisis Go is a safety app where it allows staff to immediately alert others in the event of an emergency. They can use their cellular phone or their laptops. We did talk to several stakeholders to see what they thought of it, including the local police departments. We did talk to Ms. Wing as well, so that that went really well. But it's just what they say: preparing, preventing, responding. So the minute something were to have happened, if it does happen, every teacher would have their class roster on their phone or on the computer. Not only that, the only people who would be parents or guardians would have like a barcode where they could sign out their child when there is a meeting point. And it allows us to try and just kind of create more organization in what would have been potentially something unorganized. So we're trying to get this rolling. Again, it's $15,300 per year, which to us is it's a wonderful cost. Other districts are adopting it around, not only here, but across the state. And again, all of our police departments are in full support of this, as well as Illinois State Police. Albert, is there something you'd like to believe?
District 214 also uses this program. It's basically a communication platform to enhance what we already have in place. And so this is something that, would improve and enhance our current process. And it's just an extra layer of security that we like to promote and proceed with.
Mm-hmm.
Given that some other districts in our area are participating with it, is there any opportunity to do a negotiation with other districts?
Well, we actually, I shouldn't say like this, but we actually have a lower rate than some of the other districts. We have already negotiated that down.
Is this intended to be a communication tool, or the first something happens, teachers doing the first kind of hitting the alarm button? so to say, or is it more after the fact organization, getting the kids signed out, things like that?
All of the above. It's both. Yeah. It gives teachers the ability to inform, from their phone to
Mhm.
communicate if they see a threat.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's also there for a communication platform via administrators and teachers.
Mm-hmm.
How long is the training for this? And is there like a retraining each year in case there's any modifications, or because I'd really like to see this, if it's going to be done with fidelity and have it really everybody understand.
We appreciate that, Mrs. Petrelli, because the reason behind bringing it to the board at this time for potential approval next month is so that there can be training up until the beginning of the school year, and there will be yearly, especially with staff. That there's always going to be a new staff that may come on board, or maybe they go to a different classroom. We just want to make sure that they are refreshed, because this is something that we are hoping is never used.
And will parents have some way to or is it that easy for them to use, or do they need some kind of training as well? You know what I mean? Is there some place that they can go to be really comfortable with how it works? I know we don't ever want to have to use it, but for them to be as familiar so that, God forbid, something does, that they're not stressing out because they don't understand how it works.
Yeah, the plan is that we would make sure that there is something that is detailed so that everybody is in the loop for it, especially for the fact that if there were to be a situation, parents or guardians would receive that barcode. They need to know what to do with it, how to handle it. We do have a lot of training that we need to work with, especially with the police departments that would then also work with the communities as well. So we have been in preliminary discussions about that. So definitely, we want to make sure everybody is comfortable.
Does this app notify 911 or just parents?
911 is
yeah.
So
it does.
So this is a district application, and this application will push out communication to the families. They won't be using the application, but there'll be communication pushed out from this crisis, go out to the community, and they won't have this crisis go on their phone that they would have to learn it. They would just need to be able to understand where we're meeting, like the meeting point for the schools and stuff like that. Correct?
Correct. Just to make sure that they do have that actual, they see a little bit behind the scenes if they'd like to, just so that they understand what's going on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's the big piece I think we're really looking to develop.
Yeah, I would also say this platform is very flexible, so it also can adapt to, anything that the district would require or would recommend. The platform is very flexible, so it can do that. It has those capabilities.
And what's nice about it is that the class roster is updated nightly. So let's just say hypothetically a child were to drop out or would be added onto a class, they would be added to that roster that night, so that if something were to happen the next day, they're already there, and all of the attendance pieces are on there already.
How many people in the district would have the ability to decide when there is a real crisis?
Anyone at any time would have that ability. Who chooses to? Those are things that we would still have to develop in the developing stages.
You don't think that it could be misused?
There's always a possibility of misuse, but at the same time, I think the overall incentive for us is to think of safety in a whole, or as a whole. So there's always that possibility. But for us, the way we look at this is safety comes first, and we can deal with those type of issues, later.
And Ms. Schumacher, the other piece is that there's a tree of sorts as well.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, so that's helpful compared to it being like a fire alarm and someone just pulls it.
Mhm.
It doesn't work that way.
No, okay.
Right, but it essentially, if a staff member chooses to have it on their phone, they're carrying a lockdown button with them, right? And they have essentially they can hit a button on their phone and on the app, and that goes to the building team and says there's something going on, it needs to be dealt with. And
A teacher.
right? And the nice thing is it's not like some buildings have there's specific lockdown points in a building. This works if the teacher's out on the playground and something weird starts happening, right? And it lets them literally have it with them all the time.
Correct.
Yeah, the app will also have maps in our buildings, so if something were to happen and that button were to be pressed, that we at least know what is happening, and the police have the same access we do.
So when the button is pressed, police are notified. Are parents notified at the same time, or is it police first and then, I'm trying to
Administration.
avoid the false alarms.
Right.
You know what I mean? And having a bunch of parents showing up at the schools.
So it'd be admins.
There's a sequence. There'd be a sequence of operation that we would develop as part of the training and the process. But it would start. I mean, if there was a lockdown, if that was pressed first, 911 would be dispatched, but then also administration would be notified before parents. Because there still had to be a process, a team approach on how we're going to communicate that message to parents.
Yeah. What's in place now? Worst case scenario, something were to happen tomorrow in one of the schools. Is it just the teacher's phone?
No, we have our intercom system that would communicate that. We also have panic devices that are in our main offices. So if there is a threat, in the main office, that can easily be communicated to 911 for dispatch.
Sure.
And then we have our intercom system that would also relay, those messages as well.
But what about like in the classroom, like a teacher? Something happens in that classroom. The teacher doesn't have anything other than her own.
There are call buttons in our classrooms, and we're actually finalizing 3 of our schools this summer. Will be the last 3 that we have to finalize, so that all classrooms will have a call button. But they also have phones as well. So if they have to communicate and they have to make an announcement, teachers have that ability today to make that type of announcement if they see a threat outside or near them.
In every one of our classrooms and areas, they do have there's maps like we see right here behind Mrs. Spino, right? So it kind of tells you what's where, and there's like a emergency preparedness plan.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this app would have all of that plus the rosters, plus like the point where you want to meet, plus there's ways for you to scan instead of having, like, let's just say for our families, if they unfortunately had something that they had to come sign their child off in, they'd at least have like a barcode instead of somebody pretending to be someone and just signing off the name and having an ID. It really simplifies the process, especially when people are frozen in those given situations, and it helps them navigate compared to if we didn't have it.
Sure.
Do we still have in the classroom? Oh, sorry. Do we still have in the classrooms those, like they have a backpack with all that kind of stuff in it as well that they grab as they go? We still have that in the classroom?
We do.
So this would actually, when it's all implemented, it would kind of, except for the few little items that they need to take with, that could potentially take that piece out of it, right? So they wouldn't have to remember to grab that bag. Could you have, because you would have the kids in that classroom on the phone. You would have the kids that might be absent that day. You would have the maps and the escape routes. So it would potentially be a better process.
Yes, you just said it. That's exactly right. It's an enhancement to what we already have. So definitely, yes, that's something that would help us with, because the roster would already be on their phone, so the teacher would know. Although we still have it on paper today, that's how we currently do it. This is just an enhancement where now it's digital. It's on your device. It could be on your desktop.
Okay.
Is there an opportunity to let staff try it out? I guess I want to make sure that it is easy to access, easy to use, easy to understand, because yes, we always have the tornado warning and drills and things like that. But in the event of an actual emergency here, I think everyone's running for the doors and no one's actually checking the map of where we need to go, so just making sure that it is very simple and easy to use.
Who is the top person that it should get to as quickly as possible? Does it go to the superintendent first, or does it go to somebody else?
That would all be part of the process that we would develop, but absolutely the administration and the superintendent down would be the starting process with that. Absolutely.
I think that's the main importance to me, that if we don't divert it properly.
Absolutely.
I think a question would be kind of going back to the communication out to families and stuff. We have something happen, gosh forbid. It takes time to compose a message out there and email it to families about what happened. Can this be set up with almost like pre-designed letters to send out saying, something, blah, 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 send that out. Please don't come to school, or, whatever we decide, and then we'll get you additional communication at this point or something like that. Is that part of this process too?
Yes, because you can do templates ahead of time. pre-made templates that just for those different type of scenarios. It may not be exactly what that situation might be, but there's scenarios that could be inputted ahead of time so that you know how to handle if it were whatever type of threat. So yes, you could do that,
And
that would be part of the process as far as the training and the development stage throughout that.
So what's the timeline? What would be the timeline on this? Would that be able to be rolled out this year, or would it be for next year?
That would definitely be the goal. The goal would be to start, if we get the approval come January from there, we would work throughout those months to prepare and finalize it so that we'd be ready for the beginning of next school year.
Yeah, and I think that addressed Robert's thing about easy to use. I know we met with the Florida police departments of the 4 communities we are in, and they all would like to see a consistent tool being used across all districts. Sure. And we know 14 adopted it. 54's adopted it, correct?
Correct.
So that would cover Elk Grove, and I know 57 was considering it.
25 is as well.
And 25
all
as well.
around us, yeah.
So not only is it convenient for our staff, but it's convenient for the police department that they have one tool that they need to be familiar with instead of 4 or 5 different tools.
Sure.
Does it take a long time to get this in place once it is approved?
It definitely would take some time, but that's why we would need, we would need approval in January to really follow through, to take our time to do it right, to make sure that everyone's been trained, everyone's on board with the process, that we develop a good, clean process. But yes, it would take some time, but we could have it ready by the first of the school year. Yeah.
And I think that's a good point. I think this is very important. We need, everybody in the whole district needs it, but if we don't do it properly, it's not going to work.
Right.
And then what good is it?
I was going to say the other thing too is we did mention this to Ann Wing from the DEA. We had those conversations about this whole entire process.
Pull your microphone up.
Yeah, so we spoke with Ann Wing from the DEA about this as well, and so she was in favor of it too. She really liked the the thought of bringing in an extra layer of security. So just to mention that as well.
Nope. Any other questions or comments for Ron and Albert?
Nope.
I think Albert, you're dismissed. I think Ron gets to stay up here for fitness room flooring, unless you want to stay up here for it.
Yeah, no. So we're looking to see. We're asking the board for approval on upgrading the floors for our fitness rooms at the junior highs. Currently, what we have in place is VCT tile. It's kind of difficult for students to exercise appropriately, with the equipment that they have. So we're looking to see if we can improve that and bring in more of a rubber style floor that's more appropriate for sports and working out.
What do you consider
that
the
type.
fitness room?
I'm sorry?
What do you consider the fitness room?
So there's a fitness room at Friendship, fitness room at Grove. If you're looking for specific locations, I don't have the room number.
I think what's it used for?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, typical workouts like your treadmills, your bicycles, they do lift minor weights. They have weight machines. So things of that nature, benches. So when you're placing that on a hard surface, it can tend to slide. So, yeah.
Yes. And in going back on this, Mr. Mancia made a really good point with it being, for weights, for example. So you have tile flooring and you have students that may not be able to do the same type of weight training or learning about the proper way to do it because the flooring isn't adequate, where it's a risk that a child can have a weight drop on their foot. We deal with a whole different situation. And it's a matter of making sure that our facilities are up to speed so that our kids have the right equipment so that they can do everything the right way.
Mm-hmm. Do we know what the estimated length of replacement is? Like we replace the floors now, $92,000. Are we talking 15 years? Are we talking, what's the life expectancy of this floor?
I could get that for you, but I'd say it's close to that.
Sure. And sub question, does the manufacturer or the installer provide a warranty on it? Like, is it what goes with that?
That I do know there is a warranty. I can work with Albert on that one. I have used this installer before. We had a flooding with well over $100,000, and they
Mhm.
came out and they replaced it.
Okay.
So we can ensure that there's, what it is specifically in that warranty. We can put it like in an
Yeah,
update or something.
Sure.
And I guess just to understand too, because I seem to recall from our last conversation on this, right? We had chips in the tile. That wasn't perfect. Were you referring the description to the portions of the rubber flooring are not ideal? Like, I'm assuming there's been some kind of advancement in the quality of material so that like the new flooring we're putting in is an upgrade from whatever rubber flooring currently exists. Could you just explain what that?
Yeah, no, it's a thicker product, than what we currently have, like especially in two of our locations, where one at homes, it's a rubber tile floor that you would see when you're walking through homes. It's just a regular hallway type floor, so it has no bounce to it. So that's the reason for that. At Grove, it's just regular VCT that you're familiar with, so it's just not real conducive for that. And actually, Friendship actually has rubber flooring, but it's so outdated to that point where the life expectancy has probably been met, so that we would want to replace that. But the new flooring is more durable. It's a thicker product. It has a bounce. I'll get the life expectancy rating on that.
How much like the rubber type flooring that has been put into some of the school classrooms is this like? Because I remember 5 to 10 years ago, we put some type of rubber flooring at Claremont in the classrooms. Is that
Right.
the
So yeah,
same
this
thing?
is definitely would be different than
This
that.
would be
product.
different from
yeah.
that.
Is this flooring customizable? Because I know, like at home, Mr. Razor has his black and red colors. He'd love all over the place.
Right.
We would
And,
work
lo-
with-
and logo
hold on.
related to, and logo potentially too.
Mr. Reed, yeah, we would work with the communications department to make sure that it is district adequate in terms of the colors. That price does include logos, colors, the whole 9 yards. Thank you for putting us on the spot on that part. So,
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
thank you.
I can make the motion for the levy with my
nice.
microphone on. Am I beating you to it?
Well, no, I was going to say, so now we move on to the action items. 8.01, the adoption of the 2022 tax levy.
All right. So be it resolved that on the 12th day of December 2022, CCSD 59 Board of Education approves the adoption of a total levy in the amount of $95,476,017 for 2022, which is 4.99% above the 2021 extended levy of $90,929,697. This amount is to be distributed in the district's funds as indicated in the certificate of levy. A signed copy of the certificate of levy is to be attached to and made part of the official minutes.
Do we have a second? Questions, comments? Roll call.
Lang,
Aye.
Mancia,
Aye.
Petrielli, aye. Reed,
Aye.
Sager,
Aye.
Schumacher,
Aye.
and Espino.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
I'll do the next one.
8.02, authorized reduction of certain tax fund levies.
All right. Whereas on December 12, 2022, the Board of Education of School District 59, Cook County, Illinois, did approve a certificate of tax levy for the 2022 levy year with the county clerk of Cook County. And whereas Public Act 89-01 subjected Cook County school districts to the property tax extension limitation law for the 2022 levy year and imposed a limit on the increase in tax extensions from the 2021 levy year to the 2022 levy year. And whereas the county clerk has notified each Cook County taxing district now subject to the PTEL that it may direct the Cook County clerk's office by proper resolution to make specific and necessary reductions to its tax levy for the 2022 levy year to meet the requirements of the PTEL. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of Community Consolidated School District 59, Cook County, Illinois, as follows, as set forth in sections 1, 2, 3, and 4 in this motion.
I'll second it.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
Mancia.
Aye.
Petrielli, aye. Reed,
Aye.
Sager,
Aye.
Schumacher,
Aye.
Espino,
Aye.
and Lang.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Item 8.03, approval of the equity journey, final recommendation, school pairings, boundary changes, and repurposing of Ridge Family Center and corresponding student assignment. I will make the motion. If you'll see, this is a very long item. So we've worked with our attorneys on a short and abbreviated version that basically summarizes all the whereases and the three page, some of the three down pages down to one paragraph. I move for the adoption of the resolution to approve the equity journey final recommendation involving school pairings, boundary changing, and repurposing of school family center for learning and corresponding student assignment in substantially the form reflected in the resolution and the recommendation attached as Exhibit A. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Questions, comments?
I would hope everyone has a comment. Let's hear it.
Does anyone want to make a comment?
I mean, we're going to vote, but do we want to make a comment with our vote or?
Well, now's the time to make a comment, or you can make a comment afterwards.
I'd like to make comments before.
Before?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to go ahead?
To explain ourselves. Sure. I can go first. All right. For the decade my kids have been in District 59, I have seen the inequality among the schools. This has always been apparent, especially in the schools where students from low-income families are concentrated. This affects resources available to all students in those schools. Which school one of our students attends should not affect the resources they have access to. However, I had assumed that this was just the way it is, and as a pragmatist at heart, I would work within the system to do the best for all students. So when the pairings model was brought up, I was initially extremely skeptical. It was a completely foreign concept. I could see all the possible issues, but I have an obligation to have an open mind, and it took me a very long time to come to where I am now. Here I am presented a plan that uses resources more effectively, that multiplies the power of our teachers, and that ensures that going forward, fewer students will be harmed by a system that cannot meet their needs. And I want to be 100% clear that there are no bad guys here. I bear no ill will to anyone. This system and its flaws grew organically and out of Band-Aid after Band-Aid. No one planned this. The concerns from parents in the community are valid. Any change will have an uncomfortable transition. The stress felt from the pandemic is real and still present. I feel it in my own children. The concerns of parents who bought a home near a school are valid. Ridge families are getting a raw deal. Teachers who feel that they haven't had time to contribute to these changes and who worry about the pace, all of that is valid, all of that is real, all of that weighs heavily on me. Right now, we as a community have a system where students can fall into a hole that they can never get out of. For many of our students, the pandemic is over and the trauma is healing as they have had a normal year. But for those students who do not get the help they need and deserve, this is still not a normal year. They will never know a normal year until we make changes that reach them. Their trauma endures. My goals here tonight are twofold: to get resources to students as quickly as possible and to ensure the long-term sustainability of our district. On the balance, in the near term, I believe the benefits outweigh the negatives. For the long term, I believe that the pairing plan puts the district on a path to balance sustainability and excellence in the future. It better balances schools to allow our resources to be more efficient and effective. And to be clear, when I mean resources, I mean the effort and time of our teachers, interventionists, administrators, and students. Preschool has been shown to be one of the best investments we as a community can make in our futures, and this expands that. It eliminates singleton classrooms. This allows for better balance between sections and improved collaboration for teachers. While these may seem like small effects, my experiences as an educator tell me that they are some of the most impactful changes we can make. They directly affect our students' outcomes. That's all I have to say.
Does anyone else want to make a comment?
Yeah, I'll make a comment too. I had written something, but I'm just going to go from the heart. I want to be very, very clear with the vote that I'm making tonight and the vote that each one of us here is making tonight. But before that, I want to thank Dr. Bresnahan. I want to thank each member of the superintendent's leadership team here. I want to thank all the teachers, because it was a tremendous effort to prepare a plan, to put this together, to answer a lot of questions throughout the process. But as I was saying, I want to be very clear that the question that I am answering tonight as a board member is not whether I support equity, because I do. The question that I am being asked is not whether or not I think status quo is fine, because I don't. I do agree. I do think things need to change, and I think things need to improve. And I think we should always be looking at how best to improve these things and how to make a better situation for each one of our kids. But the question that I am being asked tonight is whether or not I approve the plan that's being presented tonight. And that's where I have a lot of concerns with the plan. The positive that I am going to take from this, and speaking with my other fellow colleagues here on the board, is we've placed the spotlight on what needs to be fixed. We need to determine what is the best way to fix the things that we have put the spotlight on. A lot of parents have made comments throughout this process of what needs to be changed, and I agree, there are some things that need to change. But regardless of the outcome tonight, I do not want to just go business as usual in January. We've identified things that need to be fixed, and if this doesn't pass, I want these things to be fixed, and I want us all to figure out the best way to do it. But ultimately, the concerns that I have are whether or not this is the best way to get this done, and whether or not this is the only way to get this done. And that's where I have some hesitations. It is a very difficult decision. We've invested a lot of time, each one of us as a board member here. But that is what I want to stress, that regardless of the outcome tonight, that we continue to find ways to fix these things. Things need to be fixed. We saw those smiles on that video today. Things need to be fixed for those kids that are smiling in those videos. They don't know. We do. We need to fix them. But I am concerned whether or not this is the best way to reach those goals.
I think I'll go ahead and say something. So, thank you, Dr. Sager. You summed up. You said everything I was even going to come close to saying. Mr. Mencia, you've had things that I was going to say as well too. I will add to this. I look at this as we're not just one school. We're not just one community. We are 5 communities. And when I say the 5 communities, I mean Arlington Heights, Des Plaines, Mount Prospect, Elk Grove, and a very large unincorporated portion of our district that serves all the communities that are part of communities but are not part of communities. We have a large number of students that live in those unincorporated areas that are not represented. We have great staff. We saw the presentation today, which I'm happy to see a presentation come back to our meetings. I came on the board to fix some things. Never thought it'd be this hard to address some of the stuff that we've addressed in the 3.5 years that I've been on this board. When this topic started, I did not know where it would take us. But as I learned and looked at the numbers, I realized that we do need to do something. As Dr. Sager pointed out, we've been doing this. I think he used a couple of meetings ago. We've been kicking the can down the street. As a point of reference, in 2012, the district did look at school pairings and did nothing. or they didn't do nothing. They just decided they chose not to do it. They chose not to proceed. We have an opportunity at this point right now to make changes for the better for all of the students. And that's what I really, truly want to do is, and what I truly believe is I want to do what's best for all the students. I agree with Dr. Sager. This is a very hard decision for all of us. It is an inconvenience. It is stressful for families, stressful for staff, and stressful for the administration because everyone's put a lot of work and effort into this. And people have feelings one way or the other. And I know there are a lot of people here that are against the program, but there's a lot of people here that are intimidated and did not want to come here and speak because of how people feel. And that should not have to happen. So with that, I'm done. I did have something written up, but I just decided not to read it. So maybe else has a comment. Please continue.
I do. One thing I've always been asking for is time. We haven't had time. And for something to be done with fidelity, you need time to put it in place the way that it needs to be done, not halfway. It needs, and I truly believe if you don't have the time to do it, for teachers to be prepared, for families to get on board with it because they're prepared, for kids to be prepared, I don't see how it can thrive, how it can fix the things that need to be fixed for these kids. That's one of the biggest things that I have, and one of the biggest things that holds me back is time, and maybe a different configurations that we haven't considered. Because I think there's more than one way to fix a problem, and we do have a lot of things that I would really like see, like Robert had said, that we do need to make sure that they're fixed and that they're fixed well. I want to get curriculum that we've piloted in all the teachers' hands in all the schools, elementary as well as junior high. I know junior high has a majority of it already in place and elementaries are on the way, but time to get those things in place to help those teachers ask the questions they need to ask to prepare themselves, because it's a big move, and for families to understand. So I think those are my biggest takeaways from this whole thing. And we do work for you as well. So that has to be a consideration. So we didn't get here because I said one day I wanted to be on the board. We got here because we had people that supported us, and that's you. So a big part of that is, that's all I have to say. I didn't prepare anything because I was going to speak from my heart, and I truly want what's best for families, kids, teachers, and it's always been my motivating force, my reason for quitting teaching early to do this job. So there's more work to be done, and I want that to keep going. Thank you.
Okay. I've been on this school board for 4.5 decades. Long enough to have seen a lot of things come and go. Many ideas were thought to be wonderful, and then they weren't afterwards. And I agree with everybody who's spoken tonight, because I don't think that anybody has said anything wrong. When I became a board member, I had 14 years of teaching behind me, so I knew something about schools. But my main objective was to do what's right for the students and to get to every student and help every student. Beyond that, my next group of people I supported was the teachers, because without good teachers, you're not going to get anything for your students. And beyond that, of course, the parents. And lastly, obviously the board, because we have a job to do and we have to do it properly. But the last people I don't want to forget are the taxpayers, because there's a lot of people in our district who have no children in schools, Either they are young people who haven't no children, or they're older people like me who haven't anybody in the schools for years. So I want us to do what I have mentioned at the last couple of meetings. Find a thing or two that's wrong with our district, because there are things wrong, and fix the one or two things and then go on to something else. And I don't think we've done that enough as a group, board, administrative group. I think a lot of these things there's been committees, but I don't remember ever since this particular board has been together that we have met together as a committee to work on a problem. And I would like to see the superintendent and whomever else is needed from the administrative team to meet with the board and to actually have meetings to discuss these things and decide what we think needs fixing, and listen to all of our ideas, because we are responsible for it. And we don't all agree, but we can work together and see if we can come up with something that will fix a problem. That's what I want to hear about, is fixing a problem. And in the old days, when my kids were in school, we compared ourselves all the time with District 54. Lately, I haven't heard anything about District 54 except little comments here. And I would like to think that we are equal or better than they are, but I don't know that we are. So I think we have to start looking at ourselves more clearly.
Okay. Well, I never have anything prepared. And I think that, I mean, I'm not very talkative, especially in English. I'm very quiet in that aspect. And I don't think a lot of you guys actually know a lot about me. When we hear the comments that we don't support our Hispanic community or any other, any other families, it really does hit me personally, because if somebody understands the Hispanic community, it's me. And sorry if I cry. I'm a single mom of 4 girls, and I do not have a lot of support from my ex-husband or any other family members. So I look at this as a mom. I look at this as a dad. I look at this as a board member. At least I try. When I didn't sign up for this. They told me that I would be a good fit because there's not a lot of representation for Hispanic community. I did it not knowing. I'm going to be honest and straight up, I was never present at a board meeting. Why? In our Hispanic community, women are taught to stay home and just raise kids and just literally just breastfeed. I was never present at one of these. When I got here the first day, I was actually scared just to walking into this room. So this being my literally like the first year being here, it's like I get the masking and now I get this. And I'm over here like, okay, taking all these online courses to understand. And I'm still there, I'm not even there yet. I read Levy and I Google Levy every time we hear about it. And I'm really trying hard. I don't want anyone to be judged here, because everybody's here. We're trying our best. And I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm just here. Like, I reach out to teachers and I reach out to other, Hispanic families, and I'm like, what do you guys think? And they ask me, what do you guys think? I'm like, I don't know. I'm here to do what you guys think we should be doing for our kids. So right now I have 3 daughters. Like I said, that's 4 girls. I have 3 out of 4 at the district. 7th grader, I have a 5th grader, and I have a 1st grader. My first daughter, Luna, who's in 7th grade, she didn't get the chance to be in the dual language program because it wasn't at J yet. When I heard about it for my second daughter, I was like, I want her in there. When I was a little girl, I'm going to go a little bit back in history, a couple of years back. When I was a little girl, I was actually ashamed of being Mexican. My school, You know, it was, how is it called when they were stopped teaching the Spanish classes, and then they were just going to full English. I was so happy because I was like, I'm just with white kids. Why do I need to speak Spanish, you know? And my dad forced me to speak Spanish because he's like, you're Mexican blooded and you need to know about your culture. So when the opportunity for my kids to learn Spanish was there, I was like, I'm all in for it. I didn't know if it was going to work or not because I know when I went to school in Mexico, I was fully bullied for not speaking Spanish. And trust me, learning Spanish is a lot harder than learning English because the grammar is just, it's so complicated. It is very complicated. So maybe our scores are low, and maybe Jay, I speak personally with Jay because that's where my daughters go. Maybe our grades are low because of our Hispanic children, but they're learning 2 languages, and we have to look at it, how many doors are being more, you know, they're being open to them, and not just for our Hispanic children, for our Polish children as well. It's just not just, if my daughter Luna and my other daughter Stacy go to apply for the exact same job, just having that seal of saying that she's bilingual, Stacy's gonna get it, even though Luna might have more experience in it. And I want that for my kids. So I don't like when we say, and I'm including myself, probably I've said it sometimes, that, oh, it's because of the Hispanic community, the Hispanic kids in our schools. Maybe it is, but they're learning 2 languages at the same time. If you guys get to hear some of our white kids speak Spanish that are in our dual language classes, I just get amazed and I just tear up because it's so amazing how they speak it so clearly and they love it. And my daughters, they can read, they can speak, they can hear, they can write in both languages. And their grades are not amazing, but I know they know what they know. Okay, if I ask them something speaks to me in Spanish, they will do it. Tell me this in English and they will do it. They're smart, and I don't think we need to focus on what our test scores say because it's not what they actually know. It's so hard to understand that. Even for me, it's still hard to understand. And I just, whatever choice we make here today, trust me, I don't know yet if I might make the right one or not, but I do want change. Now that I'm here, I get to see more of the, the backstage of stuff. And I thought when my daughter was in kindergarten, I thought this was like the best district ever. Like I was like, oh yeah, my district 59 is the best one. I still think it is, even though 54 is pretty cool, but it's not. I wouldn't change this district. Even, I still have things to learn about curriculum, especially finance. It's just so hard, especially for a Hispanic woman, especially for me. We're never taught that. We were never taught that. It's still there, and it's so complicated for me to understand a lot of things. And whatever choice I make, just give me a little chance. I'm looking at this at 2 different angles. Well, probably 3, being a single mom. And now I want to say something in Spanish, if that's okay. I might not be able to translate it because I might forget. Solo quiero que las familias hispanas sepan que lo que estamos haciendo acá en esta mesa no implica que somos mayores o mejores que todos los demás. Estamos aquí representando toda la comunidad y estamos tratando de hacer la mejor decisión que podamos hacer por nuestros niños. Yo estoy viendo esta decisión como una mamá soltera de 4 niñas siendo hispana, como una miembro de este comité, como un miembro de comunidad. No crean que yo soy muy grande en política, yo no sé nada de políticas. Yo estoy aquí porque la comunidad decidió que yo estuviera aquí, porque pensaron que yo sería un buen miembro en este equipo. Yo no sé si lo soy, pero aquí estoy aún. Como decimos en México, no me rajo. Pero créame que estamos tratando lo mejor y cualquier decisión que pase hoy, créame que sea por un bien por nuestro distrito y por nuestros niños, lo vamos a hacer. I'm not going to translate that.
I just want to start by saying to my fellow board members that it is a true honor to serve with you. Daisy, I thank you for taking a risk and being willing to serve in this way, because I think it's incredibly courageous. And I know that every one of us here does this because we have a heart for students. And I want to say the same to everyone on the SLT, because this is not a position you take for money or fame or prestige. Like, you take it because kids are important to you. And I see that heart in every person here. And frankly, I see it in the audience too. I know you guys are here because you love your kids and you want to give them the best that they can have. So I thank you. Even if these are hard conversations, I thank you for bringing your heart to this room and sharing from the heart with us, because I can tell you, everyone who got up here, I take it very seriously. And this has been one of the toughest decisions of my life, I think, because I've been working really hard to try to keep an open mind. And I have a lot of gut reactions of, oh, that makes me uncomfortable, or, oh, I don't know about this. And I really tried to take my time with it and just say, okay, keep an open mind, think through this. And as I'm trying to keep an open mind, I'm watching like all of these reactions from staff, from the task force, which I sat on as a board member, from the community. And I think the piece I came to was this realization that I think our district as an organization has been through trauma. And I think there's two major traumas that we've been through. The past administration had innovative curriculum. And while I think that it was well-intentioned, I think it created trauma in our staff and in our families. And then you know what the second one was. We all experienced COVID together. And I think all of us have heightened emotions, heightened reactions because of all of this trauma that as a group we've been through. And one piece of that that's been hard to watch is like, I see Dr. Bresnahan's heart for this work and her passion. And I know that it's hard for a lot of us in this district to sort of trust and believe, because I think we've trusted and believed before and felt like we've been burned. And so in thinking about this, I literally looked up, like, what are trauma-informed practices? Because I know we've talked about them with like MTSS. So I looked up, what are trauma-informed practices for an individual who's been through trauma, or in our case, for a district who I think is still coming out of two huge traumas. And I'm sure there's more than one answer to that question, but I came across safety, trustworthiness, choice, collaboration, and empowerment. As I see it, we are going down a path in this district that calls for a lot of changes in the equity space. And I think down the road, I see big change being necessary to be sustainable in the long run. But to me, we've lost if we're not taking our staff and our community on that journey and hitting all of these principles of safety, trustworthiness, choice, collaboration, and empowerment. So like Robert, I believe we're on this journey, and I want to be accountable, and I want to figure out how we are working on this. And I even believe the pairing model could be that model. But I want us to make the journey together. And I don't want this to be a top-down decision that people are reacting to.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to make one quick comment. Being how I was educated, and I was not educated on computers, so I still use paper and pencil, and my brain works better that way. I spent 6 hours just reading this packet for today. just reading it, not studying, just reading it. I wanted to, although I don't get paid or any of my other fellow members get paid, but we all spend as much time as we need to be prepared for coming to these meetings. And we don't care about getting paid. We just want to be sure that we're doing the right thing. I even came in and saw Mr. O'Connor today to make sure that I understood something that was in the financial section. And every one of these board members is just as prepared as I am. So you're very lucky. You have a wonderful board.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Hold on. We're doing roll call.
Yes.
Do we want to do that, or roll call on the motion as written, or do we want to attempt to find compromise?
You can do it. Just procedurally, I will share. You can do it either way. You can go through this, and then there could be an amended motion following this, should any member so choose. Or you could put forth an amendment now and agree upon not moving forward with the motion as it stands for if the first and the second agree to that.
Okay, because I can count. And while I think that my number one goal is to get resources to the children who need them the most as quickly as I can, as an educator, you learn very early that you cannot save everyone. And if we don't set up a position where we get change out of this process, there will be no change. And I think that that's just avoiding the issue. There needs to be some change that comes out of this. And I think we need to commit as a group that change has to happen in some form. I understand because of the pandemic, another thing COVID's stolen from us is the opportunity to make a change now. And it's put the children that we're not going to be able to help in a terrible position. But I also understand as an educator, I can't save everyone. So what do we get to long-term? And what does long-term look like? We have a plan that will fix inequalities in this system. As my fellow board members have said, there may be another plan. But this is a plan. So we could put down a marker as a board that says we acknowledge that this district has an issue with segregation by low income. We concentrate poverty in schools. That is a direct detriment to our students and the other students in those schools. And if I can't fix it tomorrow, I want it fixed for the next generation. So what do we do as a group to do that? Before we vote no now, which I know is going to happen, I have been extremely cynical this entire time. What can we put in place that doesn't let us off the hook? And I really do trust the six of you. And I know that it's a terrible burden. It's something that's built up for 40 years. It doesn't get fixed in 1 year. But we have to put ourselves on a path to fix it. And we have a plan that does that. So my proposal would be that we move the timeline significantly. But we do it in such a way that's fair, as best we can be to the families that are part of the district. And we do it in such a way that sets up the future. Because I can't help the teachers that I promised I would try and help. And I can't help every single kid, but I can set up a system that will help them in the future. So I would propose that we come to a compromise, change this framework we have, put it in place for the future. In the meantime, we explore the other opportunities, consolidation, whatever it is. But we have a marker down that by this date, change will come.
Let me do a comment on the comment. There is nothing that would stop us as a board from continuing to find ways to improve these focus areas if the plan is voted down. I understand it's not necessarily a commitment. It's not necessarily something that was motioned on and voted on, but it doesn't mean that if we vote as a board and vote no on the plan, that we can never discuss these items again, or that we can't discuss these items again as a board, right? So I've said it here in public. I've said it a million times. Joe, you are my favorite, member here. No offense to everybody, but I love the passion. I love the analysis. I love all that, but I think the threshold question is not the timing, but whether or not the school should be paired, I think that's my hesitation with it is, is that the route that we want to go down, not necessarily the timing of when we go down the route.
Could I just add, while we are doing this as a board and superintendent administration, we must work together and we must explore as many different ideas to the things that we discover that we don't like as we can and start fixing them. Let's not keep thinking about the future. Let's start now and fix some of them. However, having said that, listening to what you say, I don't want to have this plan on the back of my mind all the time as a boogeyman or whatever. I want to, if we vote it down or if we don't vote on it at all, I want to forget about it and start something a new way.
"40 more years."
We need fixing.
To be clear, that was not a shot at Mardell.
Yeah.
That is no one person who's responsible, but this is the path to 40 more years.
So Joe, I guess I'm interested. Joe, I am interested to understand, like, what is your thinking about a timeline and what is your rationale for what makes the right amount of time to like implement this on a different schedule?
Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time thinking about that because I can read tea leaves, and the pandemic is the thing stopping us. So if we're looking at the students who were affected as kindergartners by the shutdown in 2020, last year they were first graders. This year they're second graders. And the number one argument, the thing that made me hesitate most about my yes vote for this potential plan, is the parents who said my kid didn't get a normal year. And those kids bore a big burden for society, and we owe it to them maybe to wait. So if I go with those kids are first graders last year, second graders this year, third graders next year, fourth graders the year after that, fifth graders the year after that, sixth graders they would never be affected by the pairings. And I trust that the parents who made those comments meant them, that now is just not the right time. And that they do want change, and they do want to rebalance things, and they do want to make the system more effective. So that would be 4 years from now, which would be 2026, if my math is right.
Yeah, 20. I just did it. So 23, 24 will be the third grade. Fourth grade would be 24, 25. Fifth grade would be 25, 26. Then sixth grade would be the year you do it.
Sixth grade, they're
would be
out.
26, 27.
They're out of the elementary schools. They're not affected by the pairings, the transition. There's that awkward transition year. That does not affect students who are affected by a lockdown. There's another portion of this, which is Ridge. And I don't know if we want to go into that now, but I think in all fairness, the district made a pledge to those, didn't make a pledge, but gave an option to those parents. And those parents chose it, and that was fine. The kids who are there, it's not their fault that that school was a choice. So I remember one parent distinctly emailing us early on saying, just let every kid there finish and wind it down. And I think logistically, that's a nightmare. It's expensive. It's going to cause all sorts of issues for the superintendent's team. But there's a fairness there. And it winds it down meaningfully as part of this journey. And it tries to make that change as soft as we can. It gets us to a ELC South in a few years because Ridge starts winding down, and after a few years we've got enough classrooms to bring in our preschoolers. And by getting 4-year-olds full day preschool at the ELC North, ELC South, because now we have them spread out, we have the potential to make the impact of that building exponentially higher than it is now. And again, I bear no ill will to any Ridge parent. Truly, I don't. No, I truly don't. The district gave you a raw deal, and I'm trying to find a way to unwind it as fairly as I can. I know. There's never a good way to do this.
We need to please restrict the
Please,
comments from
please.
the audience because
We're having a discussion right now.
And so I would choose to modify this and not go with the plan that Dr. Bresnahan has brought us, but to go with a delayed plan. And I think that that's puts down a marker that we think that these issues of equity and balance are important. We can't fix them immediately for all the reasons that we think, but we can fix it for the future. So I don't know how we modify motions.
So I think right now we have, well, I see this one motion, that motion being a amendment to the existing motion of keeping the school pairings as presented, but moving it back to years 26 and 27.
Yes.
And then instead of the repurposing of Ridge, which was in the initial motion in the 23, 24 year, there would be a phase out of no new kindergarten classes. And then as the kids grow out of the thing, they would finish their 6 years K through 5. Their 5th year would be at Ridge as part of the program that they were being offered. Is that, I just want to make sure
Yeah,
did I summarize it that way correctly?
I think that's the thing that maybe gets us forward.
I'm very confused at this point because either we are going to keep this on our minds and go nuts for 6 years or however long it's going to take, or we're going to solve the problems right now working together.
I don't think, Mardell, I don't think that we need to stop any progress. I think we need to move forward, no matter
progress,
what.
right,
No, with the things that we need to fix in the district.
right.
Yeah. We are not going to let that go at all.
But I don't want to have this other business on the back of my mind over my head.
Yeah, I know what
thinking,
you're saying. But that does not mean, no matter how this vote goes today, that we don't fix things that are broken.
good.
Oh, no.
Good.
We still fix things that are
That
broken.
I agree.
I think we can always talk about Ridge, and we can always talk about any other school in the district.
Right.
If we are going to go down the path of a discussion of repurposing one of the schools, I don't think right now is the opportunity to do that or have that discussion or make that decision. You know, it's one thing to analyze when Ridge was built, what was the intent and what is the purpose and what is the intent and purpose of it today, and making the decision of whether or not it aligns with the goals of the district today. What are the issues with it? Making sure that everyone understands, parents of Ridge and parents that of other schools understand what it is that we're talking about. You know, so that's why I think there's nothing that stops us from having that discussion tomorrow. There's nothing that stops us from having that discussion in January. You know, so that's why I think we just vote.
I think I'll ask this question. Can we come up with something amended as a team, as a board tonight? Or is this something we don't think we do? We've been presented information for the last 4 to 5 months. We've had a lot of community members that have been communicating with us, sharing information with us. A lot of community members are still here wanting a decision. Is this something that if we do not do tonight, and we say we'll make a commitment to do it, will we ever make a commitment to do something? And I am skeptical of that part, because we can keep talking, we can keep talking and talking and talking until we'll never we can basically agree to disagree, because we'll never fully agree on what we think is best. And that is the prerogative, and that is the best thing about a board of 7. But can we, as a board tonight, to come up with something that we can start setting down, that we want to start setting roots in, that gives Dr. Brezhnev and her team something to start working towards? Because when Dr. Sager proposed a plan of, starting in 26, 27, my first thought was, okay, there'll be time for the teachers to get the curriculum implemented. I think a couple of parents had mentioned that our curriculum will be a little more sound. Now, I do question Susan, because we'll have a lot of other curriculum, because there's a 10-year curriculum plan going in. So we're always going to be implementing curriculum, but it may not be as major as a English language arts curriculum. So I think Dr. Sager proposed a plan. Do we want to are we willing to consider that? Or if we're not willing to consider that, do we vote on the proposed plan as is? And I think that is a discussion that we need to have, because we can keep having these discussions. It's like Mardell says, the boogeyman in the room. We can keep having this discussion. We can keep having this discussion. I mean, the numbers are not going to change. The data is not going to change. The information is not going to change today, tomorrow, or the next day. It's the data is there. The information is there.
Mm-hmm.
We know all the information. We've seen it all. We've read it all. So I'm asking the board, think we can come up with some sort of agreement as a group of 7?
I would express that opinion that I am open to talking about alternative proposals on this. I'm open to thinking about a different timeline. I'm also open to taking parts of the plan, because when we know that there are discrepancies that are gonna need to be addressed, I think the more that we can be proactive, even if we need a longer timeline to implement it with fidelity, to get more collaboration and trust built as we build out what that looks like, I can get on board with thinking about an amendment. For me, I think it relates a bit to what Patty's saying. Like, I think we need some of that time built in order to build the collaborative process that we need to do this right.
But I mean, let me push back on this a bit. All of the work that we've done to date, or all of the work that the administration has done to date, if we were to vote no on the plan, we don't delete that information. We don't delete those files. We don't, you know what I mean? It's that stuff is still there. So if we were to say, I'm going to take transportation for an issue. If we were to vote no on the plan, we have all the data on the current transportation times now that we could say, how are we going to improve the transportation times? It was brought up. It was one of our focus areas. So what are we doing to fix it? It's not, we don't necessarily need a motion today to do that. That should be something that we can do absent an amendment for tonight.
If we work on that problem, we'll use all of our background, everything.
So maybe we take a straw poll, because I guess how it strikes me is that if we do, Robert, your approach, are we going to keep doing Band-Aids as opposed to recalibrating a little bit the framework that we're working upon and ensuring that like the foundation is more equitable? So I guess maybe it makes sense for our discussion if we just see like who's open to thinking. If we don't even have 4 people that are open to thinking about that, right. I think we just vote on the plan and we move on. But if we have 4 people who are open to thinking about possibilities, what do you think?
Yeah, the hard part I have with it is it's taking, because we haven't voted yet, it's taking the assumption that a majority of the board supports the pairings, and now it's to delay the pairings. I think we need to answer the threshold question of whether or not a majority of the board wants to pair. And then if so, then I think we need to address the timing for that.
But Robert, the pairings isn't the plan. The plan is a whole set. So if you were to pull out that, then we'd also pull out Ridge, right? We'd take apart the pieces. But the plan as presented is to pair on this timeline. So the question is, I think the preliminary question is, are we just voting on the plan, or are we open to cracking this open and amending the pieces?
I think until we get the plan off of our minds, we can't go on with anything else. So to me, we have to solve whether or not we're going to do the plan. And then immediately we've got to work together, the board and the administration, and decide on what our next project is and work on it. And as Robert says, we've got a lot of background now because we've done a lot of stuff on the transportation and on other things, which we can use.
So if I could synopsize, I think where we stand right now is Robert and Mardell say, let's just vote on the plan. We're not going to entertain amendments, but we're committed to equity. We will keep talking about equity. I think Joe, myself, you,
discussions, yes.
open. So 3 of us are open for discussions on possibly amending a plan. So I guess the question is there another one way or the other?
How long is it going to take to amend the plan?
I don't think we have to do that tonight. What I think is we make the decision. We don't stop there. We don't throw it out, Joe. We do not. We're not going 40 more years. We're not.
History says otherwise.
Hang on, stay with me. We go and we start doing these pieces and fixing these pieces until we have that plan. Sorry. We have that plan that everybody can live with making those improvements. I mean, maybe there's a different configuration. Maybe there's a different configuration. Maybe there's different timelines for certain pieces that need to be put in place, and then we put it all together. It can be done, but time is not on our side right now. giving people the time that they need. And I know that's the thing I keep saying, but for everybody to be able to make those pieces and do them well to fit them together, no matter what time that takes. But we do need to step forward and start making changes that will improve, even if it's piece by piece, improve them and then put them together.
So I
Does that make
appreciate
sense?
I appreciate your time reference, but then I go back to some of the things we've heard from the public, why we've been so slow in implementing curriculum, why we've been so slow doing this, and why we're going so fast on this school pairings. I understand that. So now we are looking at slowing down the school pairings piece dramatically, potentially. That's as proposed right now. And I kind of go back to my thoughts on the math curriculum and our recent November board meeting when we had implemented illustrious math last year. And in the first 3 quarters of the year, our students had improved dramatically, that we exceeded our pre-COVID math result numbers as a very big win for the district and the staff that they had put into it. Now, one thing that did support it, we had staff there. We had hired math interventionists to help with that because we identified as a problem. We've identified other things as a problem. We can put resources to that if we can find them. That's part of the issue we're having, is finding staff to work that stuff. But I'm saying, time is great, but the longer we take to do things, the more. So now we have kids coming in.
Yeah, I know.
We have 600 kids coming in a year,
I know.
and then those 600 kids are not meeting it. And every year we delay, another grade isn't impacted.
But just
And
because
another
we
grade, and the current grades are being impacted too.
But just because we don't jump into the pairing part doesn't mean that the pieces of the pairing can't move forward. Adjusting, like teachers being able to collaborate at their grade level. Let's move that forward. Let's make sure that all the curriculum that we need is in place, that it's in the teacher's hands, that the teachers have time to absorb and maybe give suggestions on what we can do to make this move forward, but break it down and then put it. It doesn't have to take 1,000 years to do it.
So maybe a question I need to ask is, if we come up with this plan, it can be modified based on as we learn more, correct?
Yeah, but I don't want to build it as we go.
Well, I agree with that, but I'm saying here's the intentions of the board going for date XYZ, and as they go towards that, they realize, oh well, this small modification may be necessary to better enhance what we're doing.
Could I just?
Yeah.
Everybody agrees that curriculum is one of our biggest problems. We've got to get it finished. Guess what somebody said to me the other day? A teacher, actually. Why don't you just look around at what the districts around us are using in curriculum, and maybe we can use one of their curriculums.
Right now, we're in the process of final selection for a language arts for next year, correct?
And we can certainly find out 25, 54, all the districts around us. If we don't like what they've got, then we don't use it. But we can maybe get some ideas for science, for social studies.
Well, I think we do that, but I would trust the teachers that are piloting the program within our district to provide us the best direction on the curriculum, and that's what we're doing, Mardell.
And they'd like to see what other districts are using.
Mardell, I've had the opportunity to sit down with one of the pilot teachers and go through the materials for first grade. The 2 new ELA curriculums are both science of reading based and have that incorporated into them. They are excellent programs. I trust very much the teacher and the literacy team member that I've had discussions with about this. They were both very knowledgeable of the reading, the science of reading, and how that's going to affect ELA's work going forward. It's good stuff. It's coming. Believe me, I would love to spend nothing but time talking about curriculum. I would I would love it if this meeting was, and Randy knows I do my homework and he gets bored when I talk to principals about this stuff, but that does not close achievement gaps by itself.
Well, not the whole thing, but obviously, unless you've got a good curriculum, nobody's going to be achieving certainly to their capacity. I don't see why anybody would find an objection with us just checking with 3-4 different districts around us to see what they've got.
Susan, did you go to the other districts and see what they were using?
Is there any, that doesn't mean we have to
Yes,
use it.
through our entire process, we look at multiple vendors, and all of our coordinators, all of the teams are looking at multiple vendors, and we're comparing with what our districts around us are doing. I meet once every 6 weeks with our neighboring districts, and we're always comparing notes on which ones we're using. There's many that we're looking at and that we've been using, that they're looking at and that they're using. We're very much in sync. We're already doing that. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, we are.
Then we should move along a little faster, hopefully. It's good.
So I think we're back to Courtney's question of, do we have 4 or more that are willing to discuss an alternative solution? Correct? I think we have 2 yeses or 3 yeses and 2 nos.
An alternative solution to the pairing, in other words, yes.
Or some sort of modification or adjustment to it that we can agree upon tonight.
I don't even want
Right.
to say that I want an
I
adjustment to it.
I think it's time for the board to take control of this.
You
Dr. Bresnahan has put forth a timeline. The majority of the community thinks it's too fast. That does not mean that the majority of the community doesn't acknowledge that change is necessary. So,
Well, I don't think the pairing change is necessary, and I'm sure there's people in the audience who agree with that.
absolutely, there are people in this audience that agree with you. But I've also had parents say, I understand that this may be better. And so,
But I don't want to just jump on something else right away. That's my point. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do something else, but I
So-
don't want to just do it tonight.
Your position is noted. I think the question is and maybe we just need to direct it to Daisy or Patty. It's as simple as, would you like to discuss an amended version of the plan? And I think if you both say no, we move on. If one of you is interested in at least discussing an amended version, then we discuss.
And what is the other choice? We drop the whole thing.
I don't think we should discuss what the other thing is until we even know that people want to discuss it. We don't want to
the
waste
point is,
everyone's
unless we
time.
have a
It's
vote
just
on
an
it, we
entry
don't know.
question. Do you want to open the door to more discussion or not?
Quiet, please. Quiet, please.
Please.
Quiet, please.
My position is that we're not dropping everything just because we might vote no. It just means that I don't think this is the configuration, or if somebody else has a different idea of a configuration. I am not closing the door on discussion, but I'm not sold on this plan, so I can't, and I don't know what the modifications would be. I don't want to make a decision on what they might be until I actually know what we discuss as
I
being
agree
an
with you.
alternative.
I agree with you.
I mean,
I think we.
Well, let's let Daisy. She's been quiet. I mean, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Daisy.
I'm just gonna be honest. I'm really hungry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I get out of work at 5, and it's a 30-minute drive to pick up my baby and drop off with dad, and I get here, but I echo what Patty said.
Okay.
That's 4 no's.
All right. So with that, I think, do we vote on the original? Or do we vote on the
Yes,
original?
We vote on the plan that's present. We vote on the motion.
Do we vote on the motion that was presented by the board?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the original, we haven't amended it. It's the original one. And we just vote on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If we vote on it and it does not pass, then we have to pick up our shoes and start all over again. And that's what we should be doing because there's problems.
So. what are we
Okay.
doing?
Roll call.
Voting.
All right. Petrielli, nay. Oh, sorry.
You gotta say the next name.
Oh, okay, wait. I'm there. Reed.
I'm a yes.
Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher.
Nay.
Pino.
Nay.
Lang.
Nay.
Mencia.
Nay.
And the motion failed.
But again, to emphasize something and to be very, very, very clear on something, like we said, this is not. It does not mean that we stop doing the work that needs to be done. You know, so
Okay,
So-
item 8.04, report and authorization of final annual financial report for fiscal year 2022 with ISAB.
Man, wait, I gotta get there.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Whereas on the 12th day of December 2022, the Board of Education reviewed the Community Consolidated School District 59 annual financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022 as presented. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of Community Consolidated School District 59 accepts the annual financial report as final and authorizes the filing of the AFR to Illinois State Board of Education in accordance with the regulations. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Questions, comments?
So just to clarify,
Hold on a second. Can we have, if you're gonna have a conversation, please go outside. We're still having a board meeting here. Thank you.
the AFR piece is the subject of the audit that we discussed
Yes.
tonight? Okay,
Yeah, that's from the audit.
okay, thank you.
Roll call.
Reed.
Aye.
Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher. Espino.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Mencia.
Aye.
Petrielli, aye, and the motion passes.
8.05, approval of District 59 Education Foundation donation.
I'll make
Motion.
the motion here. I'll make the motion here. Be it resolved that on the 12th day of December 2022, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education approves the donation from the District 59 Education Foundation to Rupley, DLC, and Frost totaling $1,881.25. This donation will be used for PE programming, journals, literacy, and math center activities for the Ozobot program. Be it further resolved that the superintendent shall communicate to the District 59 Education Foundation in writing expressing the appreciation of the members of the Board of Education, and that this donation shall be listed in the official minutes of this meeting.
Roll call.
Okay. Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher. Espino.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Mencia.
Aye.
Petrielli, aye, and Reed.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
You just donated $1,000.
8.06, approval of commercial ovens for junior highs.
I can make the motion. Be it resolved that on the 12th day of December 2022, CCSD59 Board of Education approves the purchase of 3 commercial ovens totaling $35,472.20.
I'll
Second.
second.
Oh,
Unless Joe, you want-
sure. Second.
Questions or comments?
I think just a comment that for those who might have not heard about it at the last meeting, I think this is an extra measure to ensure that our students have the meals that they need and being able to have backup for that in the event that we don't have enough or need to heat for their food.
Roll call.
Schumacher. Aye. Espino.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Mencia.
Aye.
Petrielli, aye. Reed.
Aye.
and Sager.
Aye.
And the motion passes. So they're going to be doing my cooking, right?
8.07, approval of allied contract amendment for roofing and windows. I can make that motion.
Okay, Randy.
Be it resolved that on the 12th day of December 22, the Community Consolidated School District Board of Education approves amendment to an agreement between Allied Facility Partners and Community Consolidated School District 59 as presented.
Second.
Just a comment. This basically results to doing two new roofs or doing overlays of two roofs at our final two schools in the district and beginning the window replacement project at 4 of our schools.
I didn't think they were in the same motion. I thought they were separate motions.
No, it's all in the same one. The windows and the roofs are on the same.
They're all the same.
Yeah.
Well, I have no problem with the roofs, but I can remember that not all that long ago, that we did replace windows at Claremont. Now, I came over and spoke with Ron today about it because I wasn't sure. Obviously, if the windows need fixing, we have to do it, but not that long ago that we did it at Claremont. And I want to be sure we're getting the best money, whatever.
Bang for your
Bang
buck.
for my buck. Because, I mean, we can't just keep replacing things.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Well, I think if I'm not mistaken, the windows that were put in there were more meant for homes instead of industrial parts. The Claremont windows that we're replacing.
So the windows at Claremont currently were
Yeah,
installed
yeah.
over 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Actually, they were installed by our in-house staff years back, and so they're over 25 years old. They're the residential Pella style windows.
So who's putting these in?
I'm sorry,
Who's putting these windows in?
our in-house staff way back when I found out
No,
through.
but I mean now, the ones that we're replacing. We have,
Oh, right now they would be installed by contractors, and they're the egress type. So so that was one of the things that was important to us. If we're going to replace our windows and update our windows, that we're going to make them of the egress type, so that way for safety and security purpose, if somebody needed to egress out of a classroom, they could do so with these style windows.
Any questions, comments? Roll call.
Spino,
Aye.
Lang,
Aye.
Mencia.
Aye.
Petrielli, aye. Reed,
Aye.
Sager,
Aye.
and Schumacher. And the motion passes.
Item 8.08, approval of donation to Early Learning Center.
I'll make the motion on this one. Let's see here. Be it resolved that on the 12th day of December 2022, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education approves the donation from Ms. Cody and Mr. Elliott to the Early Learning Center in the amount of $500. This donation will be used to support the students and their families by providing assistance to meet their various needs, food, clothing, shelter, etc. Be it further resolved that the superintendent shall communicate to Ms. Cody and Mr. Elliott in writing, expressing the appreciation of the members of the Board of Education, that this donation shall be listed in the official minutes of this meeting.
I'll second.
I got you on here, David.
Questions or comments?
Nope. Thank you very much.
Roll call.
Lang,
Aye.
Mencia.
Aye.
Petrielli, aye. Reed,
Aye.
Sager,
Aye.
Schumacher, and Spino.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
Superintendent report. How much time do you think you need? I'm just wondering if we want to take a quick recess or anything.
I think we'll plow through. Team, you okay with that? All right. Just quickly, I wanted to share. I know I put it in the weekly update, but I think it's worth sharing that Dr. Ossel arranged an opportunity for myself and Ms. Chensky, our principal from Grove, to go visit the alternative school, our safe school over at North Cook last week on Friday, and it was just a wonderful opportunity to tour that facility. It actually supports several of our students that are currently attending there for a variety of reasons, and I think it just deserves a lot of recognition and kudos for the work that they do, because we want to find a place where all students can thrive, and to have that as a partnership in our community is really essential, and they do great things. So wanted to share that.
Really quick, winter benchmarking opened today in iReady for reading and math. That will run through winter up to winter break. And then the week after we'll do makeups, and then our Spanish assessment of reading will also occur. So we'll get those results mid-January, likely reporting then to the board in February.
And the Spanish assessment of reading will start going into the reports we receive?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we're planning from a district MTSS, maybe Katie's going to talk about this, but we're looking at a activity for our administrators in mid-January to focus on our students that are 2 or 3 years behind, and especially connected to the status of their stretch growth. We know stretch growth closes those gaps. We really want to analyze across all schools. That's it for me.
And when will we get the results from those?
In February.
And yes, I was going to.
No pressure, by the way, Tom.
All good. So just to emphasize that stretch growth is ambitious, attainable growth in a year that puts students on a path to grade level proficiency. So we can look at typical growth for those students who are at grade level, and then stretch growth to start closing the gap for those who are below grade level. And that analysis will help us determine if our systems of interventions, which we've put in place this year, are making the progress that we would expect. We have many new resources. We've done a lot of new training in both reading and math, and we've increased our amount of behavioral interventions that are happening in our schools. So this will be a good way for us to dive into what is being successful or unsuccessful, and how can we adjust and adapt mid-year to make sure that we are doing the best possible intervention for our students. We also have been providing updates to the board on our intervention numbers that are documented. So those students that have documented plans for reading, math, and behavior, they continue to increase. And we are now mid-year reevaluating the needs at buildings for placement of our district SEL interventionists, which help buildings to enhance their systems and improve their systems for behavioral intervention and support any additional intervention that may be needed that the school team is unable to provide. So all of our mid-year reviews are underway or about to occur so that we can make sure we're adjusting and being as efficient and effective as possible for our students.
All right. I actually put in the board update right before winter break an extensive list of all of the curriculum timeline for the board's awareness. It's in there. But what's coming up soon is in January, we're going to have a teacher team share the process that has occurred, K-8. So we're going to have a variety of staff sharing that process. And then we're going to be building out a resolution for February that is comprehensive, that includes all curricular resources to be adopted for next school year, K through 8. And then March, we'll have that action item. So that's coming. Math year 2 implementation, we've just finished our first round of data collection, looked at our benchmark data as we've seen. We've also been looking at our walkthrough data. We've been looking at our teacher self-assessment data. And right now, our principals and our teacher on the implementation team are currently meeting to look at each building's data. And they're actually meeting in foundation teams. So they're meeting with their cluster schools and comparing notes and making next steps for this school year. So that's positive. Pacing has become one of our big areas of improvement where staff are feeling highly comfortable and moving along, whereas last year at this time, that was our number one concern. So as any new curricular resource adoption, that's been very positive. World languages teachers are going to be piloting starting in January, curriculum for French, for Spanish. They currently do not have a curriculum, so they're working on that, and they're very excited. We have a variety of staff doing that as well. Polish dual language audit is coming to a completion. There will be a report shared with the district in January, and then soon we'll be able to share more with the board as well. We're hoping in January we're going to have a multilingual program update for the board because there's lots going on with that area, with our dual language, with the work that we're doing in that area. ESL, our EL Connect curriculum, so there's lots going on in multilingual programming. So we hope to share more detail, also including that Lost Link Spanish proficiency assessment and plans moving forward with dual. That's it for now.
Is the vendor that does the dual language audit the same as the one used for the
Yes.
Spanish audit?
Yes, Adelante. Yeah, they're the same consultant who focuses on the pillars of dual and dual language and following a very similar protocol as well, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah. Do we know by chance if they will compare the two programs since they've reviewed both of them to?
I don't know if there'll be a comparative in the report, but I think we could do that as well because she's going to be providing a report with the exact same components.
Sure.
So we'll be able to see here's how they stack up against one another. A comparative would be quite easy to do.
Good.
Yeah.
Do you guys happen to get into the buildings to actually see the kids interact with the teachers with the curriculum and ask them how they feel about it? Because
Yes.
I know,
Yeah,
the
so-
teachers and the kids to be able to actually see it in action in the classroom and get their feedback.
Yes. So as part of the process for math, particularly on our walkthroughs, one of the data points we look at is engaging students in what are you learning today. Learning targets are a big part of our curriculum, but what's more important than a learning target is that students actually understand what they're learning. So that is one of our indicators, and we interact with students. Staff go in, our coordinators are in there frequently working with groups of staff, and during our pilot process for ELA, Alyssa Coker, Nicole Robinson have been in and out of multiple classrooms. They've been in every single one, talking to the kids, talking to the teachers.
So we, the business office, well, specifically me and Albert, we've been visiting a bunch of sites, identifying a lot of structural situations for safety, just to see what other pieces we can do. So, for example, I know that he talked to Mr. Larry Gannon, and we've had discussions about some issues with that. Every site we're doing it that way. We're waiting to deal with the ACFR. They used to call it the CAFR, but that was apparently a bad word to say. I don't know the whole reasoning behind it. I don't want to repeat anything that's going to be bad. As for our investments, we're trying to get some numbers together for that. The district has kind of moved towards a process now with our investments where there are many districts around us that are borrowing money. So as a result, we all see the interest rates go up significantly, even for districts. As a result of that, we have invested in those interests so that the money that's being borrowed is us pretty much spotting it and making the rates off of that. It's legal, obviously. We're working with Fifth Third on it, and I think we'll be pleasantly surprised by the end of the year and in the next 5 years because we're laddering those bonds out. And the last piece is there is rumors that the tax dollars are coming in from the local Cook County. So let's really hope that's true. Well, we heard that there were a couple districts that were trickling in, and hopefully that's going to happen for us.
Hey, Ron, what is the best way for our principals to let you know of safety issues in their buildings?
Oh, definitely when we see each other during a lot of emails, definitely.
Okay.
That I know that Albert's on site a lot more than I am.
Sure.
So I get a lot of, hey, Ron, what's going on? I'm thinking, oh, no. Albert, what do you need? So, that's kind of how we go about it. But and
okay.
Sean, okay, I'm not going to blame just you. But
And Joe and I are visiting the schools too. We send them. Albert fringes every Friday afternoon when we leave a school, and we come up with a list of things we need to look at.
Good. Okay. Just want to make sure that they have the ability to reach out to you.
Absolutely.
I'll go next. We have a number of technology upgrades we're working on, some of those from previous E-rate approvals that you all have been a part of, some of those planning for forthcoming. So our wireless system is in the process of being reviewed and renewed, as well as our phone system. We have a number of other internal systems that are getting upgraded that if I went into the details, I'm sure it would greatly bore you, so I won't. But we are looking to continue, especially when we talk about our strategic plan, improve our internal communications, and our technology infrastructure is a key part of that. I also want to clarify one point to Ron's presentation earlier about Crisis Go and reassure the board and the public. We do absolutely have a process in place right now that is very detailed. In the event of any emergency, from a snow day to any other emergency we have a process in place to communicate that within the classroom, to the office, out to the necessary constituents, to families. Justin and I have been working already with a lot of those prompts that someone, I think Randy had asked about, can you create these prompts already? We absolutely have, and we have a lot of those in place already. If something were to happen now, we need to send something out via school messenger. So please understand that that's a routine part of what we do, and those systems are absolutely in place and reviewed very frequently because that's an absolutely critical part of the work that we're doing. So Crisis Go, I guess a way to think about it is it's a more efficient way to get information to flow quicker. That information already is all flowing now, but if we can make that happen faster, then that's a benefit for us.
I'm going to provide a brief update celebration for professional growth goals and continuous improvement. Our teachers, certified staff, our building administrators, and our district admin have been doing an outstanding job of getting into classrooms, focusing on individual goals, doing informal observations and formal observations. We have about 950 goals in our system for certified staff alone. We've completed over 185 formal observations and over 300 informal observations. That's not to count informal walkthroughs. And as I'm sure you know, always being present in the building to provide staff with feedback. And I want to thank our staff for embracing goals to do the best they can every day for their kids.
What are we using for?
Green light.
Oh, sorry. What are we using for the evaluation?
We still use the Danielson plan, which is the adopted model within our plan.
Item 10.0, new and continuing business and announcements. Okay, special interest topics. Ross, you're up.
Since the last report to the board, we had 3 FOIA requests that we fulfilled appropriately.
Thank you. Item 12.0, reports of the Board of Education. Dr. Sager and I are continuing on our visits to the schools on Friday afternoons. It's good to see the kids and the staff and meet some of the staff that we don't get to see that often and see the workings of a school. I think it's interesting to see how each school, is unique in their design, but how they're the same in many ways, is exactly the same too. And it's amazing to see how these kids love their schools, because I know we were at John Jay on Friday, and they were watching the delayed version of the Brazil game.
Yeah, we had to not spoil it for them.
We did not want to spoil the results to them, and as much as they wanted to hear the results, it was just after Brazil had scored an OT too, so I don't want to wreck it for them. But yeah, just seeing the enthusiasm, all these kids jumping around and hugging each other when the goal was scored, and a couple actually kids cheering for the other team, and their friends saying it's okay, they may come back. But I think they didn't really mean it, but they're trying to be nice to each other. So that was nice to see.
Have you been to the junior highs yet?
We were at Homes earlier in the year, and we've been at Friendship. We will be doing Grove after the beginning of the year.
Okay. I'd like to go with you to the junior highs.
Well, we can't have 3 because I went to the GoMA. But if you want to visit a school, work with Cindy. She'll set it up for you. And I think that goes to every board member. If any of you want to visit a school and talk to a principal or something, they would love to have you and show off their schools, because they're proud of their schools, they're proud of their staff, they're proud of their students. Just make sure you work with Cindy, and she can set up a time for you and work out the logistics for you.
And I like holiday parties, just to put that out there in case there's any on the books. Just letting you know.
So I was at the Holmes holiday concert. Shout out to Miss Hoblin in the back. Really great job. Yeah, it was fun to see both those 5th graders who are like first starting out, and then see all the progress that's made as well as you move up in the grades. So fun experience.
I want to share, and I shared this with Dr. Bresnahan last month, but it was during one of the Equity Journey presentations at Jay, and I had a conversation with a table of Spanish-speaking only parents. And I was asking them, why do they hesitate to reach out to their teachers or the principals or even us on the board or the district as a whole? And one of the comments from one of the parents was, they hesitate to send an email because they don't want to Google Translate it, because they don't want their message to get lost in translation, or they don't want to sound, his words, he didn't want to sound dumb. He didn't want to sound stupid. He didn't want the email to come out sounding bad. And then the same gentleman told me he doesn't want to write it in Spanish because he was concerned that no one would read it once it got here, And I said, that's a great point. I think that's something that's stopping them from, or stopping a big segment of the community from reaching out. And it was even in my talks, in my email with Dr. Bresnahan, I had recommended, an email inbox that's in Spanish or an email inbox that's in Polish, that I think could be an easy fix get more involvement there. But those are just my 2 cents on like Distrito 59 at, ccsd.org, just so they know that their comments are welcome, or how to reach out, and a way to just stop that fear for them reaching out, because that's what I was trying to stress to them, is that we need to hear from everybody in the district. But I just wanted to share that here in my reports.
And I do think that all of the lessons in the different languages and so forth are very, very important. When I was teaching, there were no classes like that for children, but one of my best friends was the language arts teacher, and she was impeccable. Her English was just impeccable, and she was a fantastic teacher. She was loved by everybody. She was Polish, and she only spoke Polish at home because her mother didn't speak English, but she still could pull it off. And it just shows to show you that you can have a couple of different languages and do them both perfectly.
Just one thing. Just a shout out also to Christina for making my 5th grader playing the trombone and being so happy. Thank you.
So I think one thing, like Courtney mentioned the holiday party, you guys mentioned mentioned the music. In our Friday weekly update we get, there's an upper right corner, there's a list of events that are going on. Feel free to review the list with the dates and times and location. And if you're going to go try and drop the principal note, just give them a heads up. Hey, I'm they're trying to make it, just so they know you're coming. They're not surprised by you being there. And then, I know, try to make some stuff. So anybody else want to add anything?
Just a comment to say, I think the regularity with which you and Joe get into the schools means so much to the staff. And I just really appreciate that you're taking time out of your work week to be able to make that happen.
Okay. With that, can we get a motion to go into closed session?
I can do it. I move we go to closed session to discuss the items listed in A through D.
D.
D. Do I need
Do
to
a
say-
second?
I'll second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
Lang.
Aye.
Mencia.
Aye.
Petrielli. Aye. Reed.
Aye.
Sager.
Aye.
Schumacher.
Aye.
Aye.